Chapter 2679. The Prime Minister who was accompanying him reminded him, "Your Majesty, you didn't seem to have finished reading the intelligence yesterday. Our princess is also at the peak of the Saint Realm, and her cultivation is even higher. She's on par with Minister Chu Yang." The Prime Minister's words were full of hidden meaning. What he meant was, with such a high cultivation, who would dare to bully her? Who could bully her? It was more like she was bullying others, right? Such a cultivation. Even if she was facing Master Yun, it would be enough. You, as her uncle, are probably no match for her. Zi Wuji was stunned for a moment, then he laughed loudly. Like father, like daughter. The daughter of the heavenly emperor of Purple Cloud, he wants her. My niece, he wants her. She's really my niece. She's the pride of our Zi family. The flying boat rose into the sky. Zi Wuji sat on the throne in the boat with his eyes closed. Suddenly he remembered that Xue Leihan seemed to have sent a letter. He didn't have time to read it because he was blinded by the fire. He hurriedly took it out and thought, Xue Leihan doesn't seem to know my identity yet. Why did he suddenly send this letter? I heard that he has a good relationship with Chu Yang, and they even call each other brothers. This time I've really taken advantage of him. He opened the letter and saw that there was only one sentence on it. Chu Yang's wife, Zi Xiecheng, is the biological daughter of your big brother and Ling Piaoping. You can't not go. It was such a brainless sentence. But it was enough to explain everything. Zi Wuji stared at the letter in a daze. After a long time he murmured, no wonder, no wonder. Many doubts that he had in the past were all cleared up in this sentence. It was Xue Leihan. He actually knew about his relationship with his big brother. Originally he and Xue Leihan were just acquaintances. After Zi Hao died in battle, Xue Leihan didn't hesitate to put down his identity and come to Daluo Heaven to protect him. He even consumed his own cultivation to treat his injuries. No wonder he saw Xue Leihan every time after that. He always felt that he wanted to be friends with him, but after some hesitation he deliberately kept a distance. Even when he took the initiative to befriend him, he still kept his distance. No wonder he was stopped by Xue Leihan several times when he wanted to send troops to Purple Cloud Heavens. Every time he told himself that it was not the right time yet. He remembered that time. He had even fought quite a few rounds with Xue Leihan in uncontrollable rage. I know that you and my brother are life and death brothers. But why don't you take revenge yourself? Why do you want to prevent me from taking revenge? But when he thought about it later, he felt that Xue Leihan's choice was right. To show off one's bravado would only result in a meaningless sacrifice. It was useless. It was no wonder that whenever he encountered something difficult and was unable to make a decision, he only needed to look at how the Donghuang Heaven did it, and then follow suit. It turned out that Xue Leihan was deliberately guiding him. Furthermore, the Lord's authority was overwhelming, and his aura pressured the heavens. If Xue Leihan really showed any abnormalities, if I was discovered by the sage, I'm afraid that I would have already. In that case, Xue Leihan had actually been secretly protecting her all these years. He had buried all the truth in the bottom of his heart and only gave himself a false impression, as well as a lot of silent help. Then, for so many years, how much pressure had Xue Leihan endured alone? How much bitterness? Thinking of this, Zi Wuji's heart ached. He believed that if it wasn't for this time, Xue Leihan knew that he definitely wouldn't go, and he was also afraid that he would miss the wedding of his elder brother's daughter, so he specially reminded him, he probably still wouldn't have sent this letter. Zi Wuji sighed sadly, feeling inexplicably ashamed. For so many years. How many times had he scolded Xue Leihan openly and secretly? It was really too many to count. Just because of his elder brother's death, he unreasonably vented his anger on his best friend Xue Leihan, unreasonably blamed him for not sending reinforcements. But wasn't he also tightly sealed at that time, unable to send reinforcements? What right did he have to blame Xue Leihan? Thinking of this, Zi Wuji couldn't help but blush. Suddenly he thought of something and said, Prime Minister, you see that Xue Leihan and my elder brother are sworn brothers. It's very likely that he already knew my identity long ago. I have a prejudice against him and a knot in my heart. I admit that I was wrong, but since he knew everything, why didn't he acknowledge me? Why is that? Xue Leihan shouldn't be such a vengeful person, and even if he did, he wouldn't have helped me. But he has always helped me, yet he never acknowledged me and never befriended me. Why is that? What Zi Wuji couldn't figure out the most was this matter. The Prime Minister looked at him with his wise eyes and said softly, Your Majesty, if I were His Majesty the Eastern Sovereign, I'm afraid I wouldn't acknowledge you either. What? I know he wants to protect me. But it's not to the extent of not acknowledging me and letting me misunderstand him for countless years. Wuji was extremely puzzled. Haha, it's probably because your Majesty's temper and character are too similar to your elder brothers. The same heroic spirit, the same unparalleled firmness, the same unbending majesty. The Prime Minister sighed deeply. So Shui Leihan doesn't dare to acknowledge you. What do you mean? Don't beat around the bush, get to the point. Wuji was even more puzzled. Because he's afraid of you, afraid that you will replace your elder brother's position in his heart. The Prime Minister sighed. In Shui Leihan's life he only has your elder brother, Hao, as his life and death brother. Regardless of life and death, he's the only one. So he only acknowledges Hao. He will never acknowledge anyone else, even if you are Hao's brother. Your character, temper, and style are so similar to your elder brothers. Once you interact with Shui Leihan for a long time, as your mutual acknowledgement deepens, he's afraid that your elder brother's impression in his heart will gradually fade. He doesn't want it to fade even if it's just a possibility. So, he can befriend anyone in the world and do anything for you, but he will never be close to you as a brother. That's the case. He helps you, he protects you, no matter what he does for you, his original intention is for Hao and not for you, Wuji. The Prime Minister's penetrating eyes were full of emotions. He said softly, Shui Leihan is really a sentimental person. He looked at the dumbstruck Wuji and said, even if it's revealed this time. But after Minister Chu's wedding, Shui Leihan will still return to his original state and can do things for you, help you, and protect you. But he will gradually drift away from you, and you can't go to him. I understand. Wuji let out a long sigh. But if that's the case, won't I not even be able to say sorry to him? Yes. The Prime Minister looked at Wuji at this moment, not at the everlasting heavenly emperor, but at his own son-in-law. He said earnestly, I know that if you don't say sorry, you will definitely feel very uncomfortable. But, no matter how uncomfortable it is, you can only endure it. You must never say it. Although it's just 3 words, you must never say it. This is not escaping but taking responsibility. The old man patted Wuji's shoulder gently. I know. Wuji's voice rang out. At this moment, the everlasting heavenly emperor was really powerless. He straightened his back and said lightly, I will take responsibility. The old man nodded, turned around, and left. Wuji sat alone in a chair, staring blankly for a long time. After a long time he let out a deep sigh. He murmured, Big brother, I really envy you. You can make such a brother, but I can't. It turned out that the person who valued his big brother the most was not him, but Shui Leihan, who loved him so much that he would do anything for him. This undying brotherly love, this brother who had died 1,000,000 years ago still did everything he could to protect this brotherly love. Wuji looked up to the sky and sighed, silently thinking to himself, Big brother Shui, for your protection I will also alienate you in the future. But, once something happens to you, even if I have to risk my life, I will protect you. What you can do for me, I can do for you as well. The airship of great overarching heaven advanced steadily and at a high speed. Their target was the monster Emperor Heaven. Every time they advanced a certain distance, Wuji would feel his heart beating faster. His big brother's daughter, the niece he had never met. What did she look like? Did she look more like his big brother or his sister-in-law? How did she survive all these years? Without anyone to take care of her, her strength had already grown to a level beyond his own. For this achievement, how much did she suffer? Thinking of this, Wuji felt like his heart was being twisted by a knife, extremely sad. The news of Chu Yang's wedding had also spread to purple cloud heavens. The generations of brothers were all grinning from ear to ear when they heard the news. They were even happier than when they got married themselves. Although they had great responsibilities and could not go to congratulate, they had already agreed that on the 10th day of the 10th month, even if they had no time, even if it was a shift, they would still get drunk. The wedding of the Tribulation Sword Master. If we brothers don't celebrate for him, who will? I wonder if he has found boss yet? Right now Wu Jueqing had already returned to where his brothers were. Although his strength was inevitably a little weaker, he wasn't too far off. He believed that it wouldn't be long before he would be able to catch up. He has already become Minister Qiongxiao. Even if he hasn't found him yet, he will definitely find him in the future. Jun Weiling smiled. I really did not expect that the current Minister Qiongxiao, the person who controls the entire Heaven Imperial Court, is actually a Tribulation Sword Master. Just for this matter, we must also have a drink. Moreover, it is such a big wedding. As they were talking, they saw a person with long hair walking over from the other side of the first bridge. with a murderous aura all over his body. Demon Venerable. Tan Tan. The final madness of the proud world. It's over. 30 chapters in 3 days. A month of continuous fighting is about to end. Chapter 2682. Demon Venerable Tan Tan had once again returned after slaying the heavenly demons. The murderous aura on his body gradually dissipated as he approached. He gradually returned to his usual appearance. He twisted his buttocks, and the bloodstains on his body turned into flying ashes, leaving his body and clothes. In an instant, his body became spotless as if it were brand new. Seeing these guys in front of him so happy, Tan Tan came over with great interest. He looked at everyone and suddenly said with a shocked face, "Wow! What happened? Why are you so happy? Quickly tell me and let me be happy too." Everyone suddenly collapsed. Demon Venerable Tan Tan's cultivation is high, and his ability is strong. But, can you not make such an exaggerated shocked expression every time you speak? We really don't think you're ugly, really? Oh, by the way, do you think I'm handsome today? Am I even more handsome than before? Tan Tan was extremely shocked as he asked. The group of brothers who had guarded the first bridge for many years had become incomparably tough. Their bodies twitched and they fainted on the ground. Jun Wei Ling smiled bitterly. Demon Venerable Tan Tan, your senior brother is about to get married. Aren't you going to congratulate him? It wasn't that Jun Mo Ling was being too polite to Tan Tan. It was just that he had no other choice. Tan Tan was a person who had a habit of befriending him. And it just so happened that he liked all of his brothers as well. So, he was very friendly to everyone. In the beginning, everyone was very interested in this new little brother. And they could feel Tan Tan's sincerity. So, everyone became good friends in a very short time. They were like brothers. However, there were still limits to this thing of knowing each other well. They could block a blade for you and they could sell their lives for you. They could die for you at a critical moment. But there were some things that couldn't be resisted. For example, Tan Tan's eccentricity. Every time after a big battle, everyone would be tired. He would come over and ask, "Am I handsome? Am I even more handsome than yesterday?" And so on. Once or twice, everyone would agree. But 3 or 4 times, everyone would reluctantly answer. But Tan Tan didn't seem to know how to control himself. He would ask whenever he got the chance. 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, and 8 questions were asked. The brothers who had robbed Tan Tan this time were high-spirited men. So they weren't willing to speak against their conscience even when facing their own brothers. They were willing to deal with Tan Tan once, twice, and thrice. This was already the limit. But Tan Tan didn't have any insight in this regard. So he still didn't ask anything. Everyone was helpless. So Junimo Ling came up with a crooked idea. He secretly told everyone that as long as Tan Tan asked him whether he was handsome or not. So, everyone used the name of Lord Demon Lord Tan Tan and raised him up. Only when he no longer asked those unconventional questions would everyone call him by his name. Tan Tan had been called this way by everyone for the first 2 days. And it had seemed to be very satisfying. However, it had gradually become disgusting after the novelty of these 2 days had passed. As soon as he heard the other party address him as Lord Devil Venerable Tan Tan, he immediately turned around and left. Only then did they no longer feel disgusted by each other. Fortunately, Tan Tan didn't have any other hobbies besides not asking people whether they were handsome or not. Apart from this disgusting little episode, he didn't have any other hobbies. Everyone got along well and there was no gap between them. Today, after returning from a big battle, Tan Tan habitually asked everyone if he was handsome or not. Jun Mo Ling also used the term, habitually, to reply. "Ah, what did you say?" Tan Tan was really surprised this time. However, he ignored the extent of his shock. He actually pulled his face flat and opened his mouth wide. "My senior martial brother is getting married?" Tribulation's brothers all smiled and nodded, indicating that this was true. Only the other think tanks had faint worries in their eyes. Right now, the Heavenly Demon's offensive was getting more and more intense. Moreover, there were more and more Heavenly Demon King level experts. Many of their offensive power had already exceeded the limit of their brother's defensive ability. And Tan Tan's current strength was definitely the strongest expert here. There was no one who could compare. If Tan Tan went back to attend Chu Yang's wedding, the overall strength of the defense here would probably drop by more than half after suddenly losing such a tyrannical expert. And the Heavenly Demon's side would still attack with the same degree of strength as Tan Tan's defense. In fact, they might even increase the intensity of their attacks. Relying on everyone's defense alone, the situation wasn't optimistic. There was a risk of the defense line collapsing at every turn, but at this moment no one opened their mouth to speak. It was already inappropriate for them not to go back to the wedding of Tribulation Swordmaster. But they couldn't let others not go back, right? What's more, this person was Chu Yang's junior brother. Tan Tan carefully read the information from Tian Quebec. The joy on his face grew stronger and stronger. However, the look in his eyes grew heavier and heavier. After a long time, he put down the information from Qinji Intelligence Department and didn't speak for a long time. What are you still thinking about? Quickly pack up and get ready to go back. Ji Huitian smiled and looked at Tan Tan. We will definitely hold on. Everyone said together, don't worry. Tan Tan's face was even heavier. His previous cynicism and all kinds of funny and strange things had disappeared at this moment. He struggled for a long time. Finally, he lowered his head and said, I won't go back. After saying this, he was silent for a while. Then he said in a low voice, I won't go back. Jiang, I'm sorry. This place, I really can't leave. He turned around silently and said softly, tell Tianji Intelligence Department to send my regards to my senior brother. I can't go back. I'll wait for him here. The black-clothed figure disappeared into the thick fog. The Tribulation brothers remained silent when they saw that Tan Tan was behaving like this. On the other side of the first bridge there was a loud roar. It was the voice of Tan Tan who had just returned. You hateful heavenly devils. You delayed my wedding. Go to hell. Go to hell. All of you go to hell. Obviously, Demon Venerable Tan Tan was very uncomfortable about not being able to go back. So, he vented his resentment on all the heavenly devils. Everyone's faces were solemn. Good job. Good job. Jun Weiling and Ji Huitian said almost at the same time. On the other side, Chu Yang rushed to the eastern royal sky as fast as lightning. In order to hurry up as much as possible, he even used, what harm is there in slaughtering the entire world, several times to shorten the travel time. When he arrived at the eastern royal sky, General Lan and the Prime Minister were frightened by the travel-worn minister's seat. What's going on? His Majesty went to attend your wedding. Why did you, the bridegroom, come to our side? His Majesty. His Majesty didn't go to your place? The passage to the heavens continent. We don't know. His Majesty has always kept that passage a secret. Only he knows about it. Others don't know about it at all. It's His Majesty's secret. Chu Yang was dumbfounded this time. He had suffered untold hardships and trekked all the way to the eastern royal sky in a hurry. He wanted to go to the heavens continent through the secret passage in the eastern royal sky to bring his parents up to attend his wedding. It didn't seem right for his parents not to be present at his wedding. But Shui Leihan actually disappeared at this time. And others didn't know where the passage was. Back then, in order to keep the heavens continent a secret, Shui Leihan had personally sealed all the passages. On the basis of complete sealing, he spent a lot of magical powers and a lot of time to open up a private passage. It could be said that without Shui Leihan's permission, even if 10 Saint Monarchs joined forces, they wouldn't be able to reach the heavens continent. But this also meant that this passage was a secret that only Shui Leihan knew about. No one else knew about it. Chu Yang was dumbfounded. Even though Chu Yang's cultivation was very high, he was helpless in this situation. The Prime Minister and Great General Lan looked at each other in dismay as they saw the disappointment on the minister's face. They were helpless. Tianji, quickly help me find out where Dong Huang is now. Chu Yang sent a message to Imo Tianji. Imo Tianji quickly passed down the order. But Dong Huang was nowhere to be seen in the sea of people. It was more difficult than finding a needle in a haystack. After staying for half a day, Chu Yang, who didn't manage to find Dong Huang's whereabouts, rushed back to the Demon Emperor Heaven in disappointment. Going back and forth was as fast as lightning, but the feeling of going back and forth was absolutely different. He came with excitement and happiness. Father, Mother, I'm getting married, I'm going to bring you all over for the wedding banquet and tea. But when he went back, Chu Yang didn't know how frustrated he was. He was too impulsive in this matter. He was too impulsive. Time was too tight. Chu Yang made a plan. With his cultivation level, he could rush to the eastern royal heavens, descend from the eastern royal heavens, and bring his parents, Imo Tianji, and the others' families up. In total, it would take him less than 10 days to complete this journey. But what he didn't expect was that when everything was arranged and planned, the key person, Shui Leihan, just had to disappear. Regarding this, Chu Yang was extremely vexed. However, the moment he returned to the Demon Emperor's heaven, all he could see was red and colorful decorations, as if they had blotted out the sky. Chu Yang quickly put away the regret in his heart. He was the groom. What did he look like if he cried? As a groom he had to look like a groom. Demon Emperor Heaven, Luohua City. At this moment, Luohua City, which had been baptized by the flames of war, was once again filled with flowers. Luohua City, which was devastated and covered in scorched earth, was restored to its former glory. It was even better than before. This time, the elf clan didn't hesitate to sprinkle the spring water of the spring of life that they had just cultivated. They even sprinkled countless flowers and trees on the ground, making the land within a radius of 30,000 miles full of fresh flowers and green grass. This time, the newly promoted elf emperor was going to marry the 4 empresses. It was a family matter. How could they not put in a lot of effort to prepare? Walking on the road was really like walking on satin flowers. Their eyes were full of vitality. It was really indescribably refreshing. After receiving the news, all the heroes rushed over. Chapter 2683. Many of the experts from the Demon Emperor Sky who were closer had already arrived. Every day, every hour, every moment, there would be countless new faces appearing. It was getting more and more lively. As the host of all this, Tang Clan's third young master Tang Yongwei was so busy these days that even when he went to the toilet, there were people waiting outside with money. This made Tang Yongwei furious. He exploded. "You don't even let me go to the toilet? Is there any logic to this?" Someone smiled obsequiously. Coughed third young master. "You can go to the toilet every day. But we don't have many opportunities to earn money. Please bear with us." Tang Yongwei was dumbfounded. Suddenly he flew into a rage. "Bullshit, what do you mean I can do that every day? Fuck. You're the one doing that every day." Chu Yang had just returned to the Demon Emperor Heaven when he was greeted with a flurry of punches. Not a single one of the brothers was missing, all of them gathered together. Gu Duxing Dong Wushang Ao Shiyun Xia Danxiong Mo Tianji Rui Badong Gmo Luo Kadi Yao Ningning Mo Lei, Huyan Albua Madame Mei Lady Sacrifice Chula Gu Miaoling, and so on. Everyone was laughing and jumping. When they saw Chu Yang, they swarmed forward and flipped this Minister Cheong Xiao to the ground. Then they jumped up one by one and started to fight. The women smiled and watched at the side. Then they swarmed in to look for Mo Qingwu and the rest. Many of the experienced ones naturally went in to pass on their experience. Chu Yang was pressed down at the bottom by everyone. He smiled and begged for mercy. Spare me, spare me. This is my big day. Brothers, give me some face, give me some face. If it really is your big day, we will definitely give you some face. It's just that your big day is not today." Ah. The brothers laughed and jumped even more happily. After messing around for a while, everyone sat together to discuss the matter. After hearing that Chu Yang couldn't go down, everyone fell silent. Mo Tianji said, "Since that's the case, there's no other way. There's nothing we can do about it. We can go back and report when there's a chance in the future. The most important thing right now is, you see, the 4 brides can't stay here. They can't marry into their own families. Let's split the spoils first. Qingwu is obviously on my side. I'm sending my sister off to get married. This is a matter of course." Mo Tianji proudly said, "I am eldest uncle. I want to sit at the head of the table." This reason was perfectly justified. No one could say anything else. "In your dreams." Gu Duxing said, "Our big western sky is responsible for sending off sister-in-law Butian to get married. That's settled. No one is allowed to fight with me over this. Whoever dares to snatch it will have to ask my black dragon sword. All right, Mo Yuntian will be in charge of sending Qian Qian off. Sister-in-law Qian Qian likes to wear black, and our Mo Yuntian likes to wear black. It is a perfect match." Xia Dan Xiong rushed in. "In order to fight for this spot, even the sky has turned black. Isn't Mo darker than black?" Everyone laughed together. "Our clear sky sect, our extreme heaven." Dong Wushang and Ao Xie Yun spoke together, clearly unwilling to fall behind. The other brothers also started to fight. Mine? You're nothing. You don't have anything over there. Do you want sister-in-law to get married in a shabby manner? Get lost. What do you have over there? Quickly get lost." The first 3 spots were snatched away in the blink of an eye. The others were anxious and they were about to get into a fight. Cough, cough, I'll talk. Cough, cough. Yao Ningning coughed loudly, but everyone ignored her completely. The Grand Elder was furious. With a pu sound, he jumped onto the table and bellowed from above, "All of you stop. Listen to me." His voice was like thunder. Everyone was stunned for a moment. Immediately, they turned their heads, and their eyes were filled with amusement. "Well, not bad. You actually dare to shout at us. Do you know who I am? Dong Wuxiang looked askance. Not bad, you actually dare to stand on the table and talk to us? Why are you so arrogant? Ao Xie Yun tilted his head. Come down. Obediently lie down and do push-ups. Otherwise the few of us will pull you out and throw you into the cesspool. GMO, Luo Kudi and Rue Badong shouted loudly. I haven't finished speaking. Wait for me to finish speaking, then you can tell me what you want. Yao Ningning straightened her neck. I'll tell you. Zi Sheqing is our clan's. Everyone instantly started to jeer, but Yao Ningning continued loudly, Sister-in-law Zi is the daughter of the heavenly emperor of Zishao, and also the daughter of my mother's best friend Aunt Ling Piaoping. The demon race is her mother's clan. Uncle Dong Huang is also the sworn brother of the heavenly emperor of Zihao. The two of them are the closest elders to sister-in-law Zi in this world. They have already instructed that no matter how you look at it, sister-in-law Zi has to set out from our demon emperor heaven. She has to marry from the demon imperial palace and marry into the Chu clan. My mother asked me to inform you of these matters. There's no room for discussion. Yao Tai had the backing of the East Emperor Demon Empress. At this moment he was obviously very confident. His voice was also rough and full of aura. Unexpectedly, everyone objected in unison. No. Our sister-in-law should be sent off by us. No matter who wants to snatch her away, not even the East Emperor Demon Empress. You little rascal, how dare you use the East Emperor Demon Empress to pressure us? Everyone beat him up. Dong Wuxiang shouted. Everyone present rubbed their palms and pulled Yao Ningning down to give him a beating. Yao Ningning complained incessantly. By Shixian, who was at the side. My fiancé's brain is really in a knot. Why doesn't he look at the situation before speaking? Among the people present, there were quite a few who had the status of heavenly emperor. Every one of them was at the peak of cultivation and was not inferior to the East Emperor Demon Empress. If they had discussed it properly, there might have been hope. They had said it well at the beginning, using the mother's clan and elders as the starting point. It was obviously righteous and no one could refute it. However, the bad part was the last sentence. Inform? No room for discussion? Who do you think you are? Who do you think these people are? You're using the name of the East Emperor Demon Empress to pressure them. Aren't you looking for trouble and making yourself uncomfortable? In this world, other than their common boss Chu Yang, who else could suppress them? Countless flags fluttered in the wind around Luohua City. If one looked down from the sky, it seemed to be an ocean of flags below. Dancing with you, Qiong Shao. Conquering the world with you. The minister's wedding banquet, the whole world celebrates. Going to war with the extraterrestrial demons, swearing an oath. Drinking the minister's wine today, spilling blood in the purple cloud heavens tomorrow. Everlasting. The seas run dry and the rocks crumble. A man must drink the minister's wine, a man must fight in the purple cloud heavens. After drinking the minister's wine in this life, I have no regrets as a man. Going to war with the extraterrestrial demons, I don't have to fear being buried in the purple cloud heavens. In the most central position, a towering flag stood tall. It was no less than a few hundred feet long and wide. It fluttered in the wind. On the flag there were 12 words that were particularly eye-catching. Cheers and drinks tonight. Fighting in the purple cloud heavens tomorrow. All kinds of flags were written to congratulate the newlyweds, and there were also flags to swear an oath to go to war. They were intertwined with each other, but it was so harmonious. Because everyone knew. Minister Qiong Zhao's wedding was actually a ceremony to fight the extraterrestrial demons in the heavenly imperial court. Minister Qiong Zhao would announce to the world that she would fight the extraterrestrial demons on this day. Minister Qiong Zhao was equivalent to using her wedding and wedding wine as a feast for the 10 worlds to gather and fight the extraterrestrial demons. Such a wedding banquet. It was the only one in history. Such a feast was the only one in the world. Everyone wanted to drink this cup of wine. Everyone could feel that this cup of wine could make the blood of their men burn to the extreme. Happy time always passed exceptionally quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was already the 7th of October. There were still 3 days before Chu Yang married the 4 beauties. Tribulation's brothers left one after another in the past few days to go back and make preparations. Of course they didn't return to their respective worlds. Instead, they returned to their own world's camp and prepared to send off the brides. That was because the representatives of the various worlds had arrived one after another. The great emperors who didn't do their jobs ran out one by one in advance. The ceremonial team followed behind. They were still slower by more than 10 days. Of course, for such a large ceremonial team, This speed and this distance were already commendable. From the 7th of October onwards, it seemed that time had suddenly slowed down as if it had stopped. Everyone felt that time was really passing too slowly. Everyone couldn't wait for the arrival of the 10th day of the new year. Luohua City, a sea of people. There seemed to be no adjectives that could describe the enthusiasm here. All the experts of the 10 great worlds from all over the world had gathered here. Countless old friends who hadn't seen each other for many years suddenly reunited here. They held hands and looked at each other as if a lifetime had passed. Then, there was ecstatic drinking. At the same time, there were also countless people of the pugilistic world who were sworn enemies with each other who accidentally met here. However, they didn't fight on the spot. Instead, they looked at each other and smiled. The enmity between us is irreconcilable. Either you die or I die. But it's too easy for you to die in my hands. I think so too. We're about to fight the extraterrestrial demons. Let's see who's better on the battlefield. If you die in the hands of the extraterrestrial demons, I will let go of your family, and the enmity will be settled. You too, if you die in the hands of the extraterrestrial demons, I won't pursue your family. If you and I are lucky enough to survive this battle, we will determine the winner based on the merits of slaughtering the extraterrestrial demons. The one with the lower merits will commit suicide to atone for his crime. This will be considered as settling the enmity. That's right. The one with the lower merits really doesn't deserve to live in this world. If I don't kill as many enemies as you, I deserve to die. If you're not as good as me, don't complain. We're the same and we die without resentment. We're the same and we die without resentment. Let's have a drink at the minister's wedding and get drunk before the enmity. See you on the battlefield of the extraterrestrial demons. Life in the pugilistic world is just a cup of wine, and we can talk about life and death grudges. Okay. Chapter 2684. Such a scene happened almost every moment in Luohua City. The grudges of the martial world and the open-mindedness of the imperial court experts were all revealed at this moment. Who said that men were not upright? Who said that the common people were not broad-minded? Even the most narrow-minded people felt their blood boiling at this moment. They were not inferior to their opponents at all. There were even many people who suddenly felt, damn it, I was a real man just now. Why didn't they realize it before? The first half of their lives were simply in vain. Luohua City was filled with the fragrance of flowers and wine. Finally, it was the beginning of the day. Tomorrow was the official day of the minister's wedding. Everyone's blood was boiling at the same time, but their hearts were so nervous that they seemed to be unable to beat. Luohua City, which had been noisy for a month, was inexplicably quiet today. The darkness before dawn, the silence before the explosion. Everyone felt that when the next sound was made, the entire imperial court would instantly explode. Shui Leihan, who had been missing for a long time, finally appeared in Chu Yang's palace. Chu Yang, congratulations on your wedding. Shui Leihan waved his hand. My gift to you for your wedding is a surprise. Chu Yang abruptly stood up. He rubbed his eyes hard. Father, mother, third uncle. Chu Yang was so surprised at this moment that he was incoherent. He was so happy that his heart almost exploded, but tears suddenly flowed down. He thought that there were still regrets in his wedding. Among his relatives other than Chu Lur he had no regrets. No one else would be fated to attend it. Unexpectedly, in front of him were Chu Feiling, Yang Rulan, Chu Yang's family and Chu Yang's friends in Heaven Imperial Court. Emo Tianji's family. In addition there were two beautiful little guys Yu Xiaodai and Chu Yang's son little Tai Yang. The relatives and friends that Chu Yang wanted to bring over were all here at this moment. Not a single one of them was missing. All of them had appeared here. Yang Rulan saw them and rushed over without a word, tears streaming down her face. She hugged her son tightly. However, after the ecstasy, Chu Yang was unanimously criticized. His ears hurt because Yang Rulan had already pinched them. You little bastard, your wedding is such a big thing and you actually want to do it yourself. You are unfilial. Do you know you're wrong? Chu Yang bared his teeth and begged for mercy. The surrounding guards lowered their heads. They simply couldn't bear to watch. However, they really wanted to see a rare scene where Minister Chu was defeated. Minister Chu, the #1 person under the heavens, was being pulled by the ear like this. The scene was really sweaty. Seeing Chu Yang having a joyous reunion with his family, Shui Leihan smiled. Chu Yang, the surprises aren't over yet. There will be more to come. There's another surprise that you'll see tomorrow. I'll make a move first. Shui Leihan's figure disappeared in a flash. Early October. In the afternoon, while Luohua City was busy with the final preparations, suddenly, dark clouds covered the sky. A total of 10 huge flying ships flew in from afar in a neat formation. The density of his aura was truly earth-shattering. On the flying ship, the words "Great Overarching Heaven" shone brightly. It had already revealed the identity of the person who had come. Everyone knew that it was the exalted celestial emperor, Ziwuji. However, everyone still found it strange. The other celestial emperors had also arrived, and they had arrived a long time ago. However, they were all in their own territories and were not as ostentatious as the Great Overarching Heaven. Such a formation didn't seem to be here to congratulate but to fight. Could it be that the Lord of Great Overarching Heaven, Ziwuji, was going to be an uninvited guest? The flying ship of the Great Overarching Heaven was still in midair, but Xue Leihan, dressed in white, had already rushed up like an arrow. As soon as he saw this, Xue Leihan knew that something was wrong. Ziwuji's momentum was so great that although it made sense to say that he was marrying off his daughter, the momentum he was displaying was somewhat confusing. Xue Leihan was afraid that something would happen. He was afraid that Ziwuji would lose his temper at this time. That would be terrible, so he hurriedly went up to meet him. He knew that Ziwuji had a fiery temper. Over here. Dong Wuxiang, Gu Duxing, Xie Danxiong and Imo Tianji were now specialized in dealing with this fiery temper. Once Ziwuji flared up on the spot, what awaited him was probably a group of people with twice the strength of Di. Not only Ziwuji, but Xue Leihan also couldn't bear the consequences. Moreover, when the truth was revealed, the ones who would be really embarrassed would not be these people who were fighting, but Chu Yang and Zi Xiecheng. Xue Leihan arrived on the flying ship in an instant. "I say, what are you doing here in such an aggressive manner?" Xue Leihan's face darkened. When Ziwuji saw Xue Leihan, he immediately remembered his past behavior. He instinctively lowered his head and said in a soft voice, "My elder brother's daughter is getting married, which is equivalent to my own daughter getting married. Of course I have to observe what kind of husband my niece is." "What nonsense are you observing? Since when is it your turn to observe? Who do you think you are?" Xue Leihan glared at him. "I'm telling you, you better behave yourself. Do you think you're so great as the Great Overarching Heaven Emperor? I'm also telling you, you really can't count the great emperors here who can act according to plan. If you really kick up a fuss, the one who will be unhappy in the end will definitely be your niece. You better think about it carefully." Ziwuji was a little dazed when he heard this. He lowered his head and said, "Then can I send her off?" "Send her off? That's possible." Xue Leihan suddenly realized and said, "Quick, quick! Come with me, let's go find Xener and see if she can snatch it." "Snatch it?" Ziwuji was a little petrified. "What do you mean snatch it? How can you snatch it? Can this thing be snatched?" Xue Leihan pulled him along and flew out. "Stop spouting nonsense. Just follow me, Demon Imperial Palace." "What?" Xue Leihan and Ziwuji were dumbfounded. "We can't snatch the right to send her off?" "What? That shouldn't be the case. We have manners, relationships and people here. Everything is ready. Even if someone doesn't allow them to send her off, there's no reason for them not to let us do it. The Demon Empress and I are the closest relatives of Zi Xiecheng's parents. Xue Leihan is Zi Hao's sworn brother, and the Demon Empress is Ling Piaoping's best friend and the Demon Clan's leader. Even if we don't say anything, you should rush to find us to preside over the situation. How can such a situation happen?" The Demon Empress flew into a rage. "Those little bastards, how dare they not give us face? One day, I'll teach them a lesson one by one." Xue Leihan comforted the Demon Empress while letting a certain lady tell them the whole story from beginning to end. After hearing the whole story, Xue Leihan and Ziwuji fainted. "That's not right. How can you say that? Using the two of us to suppress them. One minister and 5 great emperors. We really can't suppress them. In the past, they were characters that could be killed with a single breath. But now the problem is, the change is too fast." The three of them looked at each other, speechless for a long time. After a long time, Ziwuji suddenly flew into a rage and shouted, "Xue Leihan Yao Xe, you two are good. Really good. My elder brother's daughter is getting married, but now you can't even snatch the right to send her off. You. Before he finished speaking, a certain emperor punched his left and right eyes at the same time. He instantly turned into a panda. "What are you shouting for? Snatch it if you can." Yao Xen pursed her lips. She felt a little uncomfortable. "I'll snatch it then, I don't believe it." Ziwuji rushed out angrily. Xue Leihan and Yao Xena looked at each other and said at the same time, "Maybe there's really hope." Let's go. Because the two of them immediately thought of Zi Wuji's identity. He was Zi Sheqing's uncle and the only blood relative in this world. This was the most powerful sure-kill trump card. Why? Dong Wuxiang and Ao Shiyun slammed the table and stood up. A total of 4 sisters-in-law were being sent off, and Mo Tianji had taken one of them due to his advantage as the eldest brother-in-law. Gu Duxing also took one of the places. Although he didn't say it out loud, he had a sword, a fist, and was the second brother. Everyone had to bear with it even if they couldn't bear it. Xia Danqiong shamelessly said that Wu Qianshan likes black clothes, but Mo Yuntian prefers black clothes, and actually took one of the places. In order to get one of the places, he even said that his sky was black, so there was no way. In the end, only Zi Sheqing, Dong Wuxiang, and Ao Shiyun joined forces and forcibly suppressed the others. They snatched this hard-won qualification. The other 3 all got 1 each, but only the 2 of them got 1. This result made the 2 of them, who wanted to monopolize it, feel uncomfortable. Now, there was an even more ruthless person who wanted to snatch away the right to send off Zi Sheqing. How could the 2 of them tolerate this? Zi Wuji stood as straight as a mountain, calm and fearless. What? What right do you have to point fingers here? Which girl doesn't leave from her maternal family when she gets married? The 2 of you are unreasonable, and the way you do things is even more ridiculous. How dare you ask me why? Dong Wuxiang said angrily, the 2 of us represent sisters-in-law's family. Zi Wuji sneered. You represent? Can you represent me? How come I don't know about the existence of the 2 of you? What relationship do you have with me that you can represent me? Your Majesty Heavenly Emperor Wuxiang, I don't want to criticize a Heavenly Emperor, but what you said just now was too thoughtless. You can't say things casually. Dong Wuxiang listened to his sarcasm and flew into a rage. Without thinking, he was about to attack. Ao Shiyun stopped him. Ao Shiyun was extremely smart. He immediately figured out that something was wrong. This guy is too confident. He looked at Zi Wuji and said, since you say that we are not qualified, then please speak more clearly. Who is qualified and what qualifications do we need? Zi Wuji said fiercely, Zi Sheqing is the daughter of Zi Hao, the heavenly emperor of purple clouds, right? Ao Shiyun said unhappily, nonsense. P.S. Very tragic. The update was late. I was also helpless. I've just crawled out of the abyss. This was how things turned out. Last night, on Chinese Valentine's Day, I went to eat teppanyaki with my wife. After we finished eating, we went out to shop. While we were shopping, my wife entered a specialty store. I waited at the door. When I saw her come out, I followed behind her. As he followed, he muttered in his heart, damn, who's this guy next to her? After following a few shops, he couldn't help but ask, who is this? When the woman turned around, I immediately ran away. Damn, I mistook her for someone else. The most tragic thing was that he couldn't find the store his wife had entered. Really, what was even more tragic was that my phone was in my wife's bag. I had to find a public phone to call before I could find her. His wife squinted her eyes and said, I saw you when you left with her, so I didn't call you. Let's see how long you've been following me. In the end, you're really good. You've been following me for half an hour. Isn't it beautiful? I was about to cry. It was really strange. Long hair, similar clothes, similar figure. Who could recognize her? Not to mention a blind person like me. As long as someone changes their hairstyle, I can't recognize them. Let's not talk about it. The more I talk about it, the more I cry. Chapter 2685. Zi Wuji, on the other hand, was not angry. He pointed to his own nose and said, how is this nonsense? Let me tell you, this old man's surname is also Zi, and his full name is Zi Wuji. I am Zi Hao's younger brother, his blood brother. Zi Wuji leaned closer to the 2 dumbfounded faces and said fiercely, Qinger and I are blood brothers of the same mother. Do you understand this relationship? Since he had already said so much, what else did they not understand? Dong Wuxiang and Ao Xieyun were completely dumbfounded. Zi Wuji laughed heartily, 2 great emperors, do you know what it means to be an uncle? A blood aunt? What do you mean by family? Other than Qing, who else is more qualified than me to send her off to get married? Ao Xieyun said weakly, what evidence do you have? Just because you say you are? In fact, when he said this, he had already believed it in his heart. He was just making a last-ditch struggle because he was really unwilling to give up. Zi Wuji said, both the East Sovereign and the Demon Empress can testify to this. Could it be that with my identity I would lie to you? Now the 2 of you can go do whatever you need to do. I won't send you off. Dong Wuxiang and Ao Xieyun were completely speechless. They lowered their heads and looked frustrated, refusing to move no matter what. It was really not easy. He had spent so much effort and made so many wishes. Only then did he manage to appease the other brothers and snatch the last chance to send her off. In the end, it was snatched away by a few words from someone else. Moreover, this person's identity was special. They did not even have a reason to snatch it. It was too tragic. By the time Shui Leihan and the Demon Empress rushed over, Zi Wuji's side had already won a great victory. Looking at the two great emperors opposite them who were like defeated roosters, the East Sovereign and the Demon Empress burst into laughter. Hee, this is called breaking up. If you two don't want us to send you off as your family, then don't count on us. Dong Wuxiang and Ao Xieyun glared innocently. I say the two of you are donkeys. You don't want to lead us, but you want to beat us back. The Demon Empress finally found a chance to vent as she scolded. At that time, I already asked Ningning to tell you the truth and reason. It was clear that all the conditions were on our side, but you had to pester us endlessly, saying that we were bullying you. Look at you now. Are you comfortable now? Satisfied, right? Are you satisfied? Dong Wuxiang and Ao Xieyun stood there like dumbfounded geese. They were in a daze as they allowed the high-spirited Demon Empress to scold them. For a moment, he was so dejected that he didn't even want to say anything. However, Zi Wuji soon encountered a new problem, an extremely troublesome one. He could handle everyone. There was only one person he couldn't handle, and that was Zi Sheqing herself. Zi Sheqing came out. Uncle? Hearing this, Zi Sheqing was confused. Everyone in the Zi clan except for me died in the fall of the purple cloud heavens. How can I still have an uncle? Impossible, impossible. Zi Wuji was so anxious that he opened and closed his mouth, but no words came out. Zi Xiaqing's words were very straightforward, but it really made him speechless. If he was really a man of the Zi clan, he should have died in the purple cloud heavens together. Since he didn't, he definitely wasn't a man of the Zi clan. This logic was not difficult to understand, but it was an endless loop. Shui Leihan hurried forward and explained. However, Zi Sheqing was still a little confused and even a little resistant. It was no wonder that Zi Sheqing would have such a reaction. For countless years she had always been alone. Tomorrow was the day of her wedding, but today, a person who claimed to be her biological uncle came knocking on her door. Since she had an uncle, why had there been no news for so many years? Since she had an uncle, why hadn't she tried to avenge her father? Since she had an uncle, why had she been hiding her identity for so many years? Since she had an uncle, why hadn't she gone to settle the score with the saint? There were countless questions. They lay across Zi Sheqing's heart. They also lay between her and Zi Wuji. She really wanted to say, then what's the use of having you as an uncle? If your niece married an ordinary person and lived a lowly life, would you simply not acknowledge me? This question had once filled Zi Sheqing's heart. However, she didn't say it in the end. She just looked coldly and indifferently at Zi Wuji, the heavenly emperor of the Daluo heaven who claimed to be her biological uncle. However, he only looked at her in different expression, and her gaze that was almost ignoring him. Zi Wuji already felt as if he had been hit in the head, and even his heart ached. Child, I really am your uncle. Back then, I let Big Brother down. Zi Wuji explained with difficulty. At this moment he felt more and more that his mouth was actually so clumsy. Shui Leihan let out a long sigh and went forward to explain, Girl, we all know and also understand that you won't be able to accept it in a short time. However, this matter was your father's decision back then. Just like our Shui clan back then, all the eggs would not be placed in one basket. If the entire basket was broken, then wouldn't all the eggs be broken at the same time? There has to be a backup plan. It's not that your uncle didn't rush to the purple cloud heavens to help back then. In fact, he did go, but he was attacked by an expert of unknown origin on the way and was seriously injured. After that, he had always wanted to avenge your father, but I stopped him. Because if he really went to seek revenge, there would be no other outcome other than courting death. Zi Wuji stood clumsily at the side, nervously waiting for the judgment of fate. He felt that he had a clear conscience. However, he didn't understand how to explain his clear conscience to a girl who thought she was an orphan and had lived alone for such a long time. Putting himself in her shoes, if it were me, Zi Wuji, would I accept it so readily? Shui Leihan explained from the side, bit by bit, and Yao Exen also helped to explain. However, Zi Sheqing's expression didn't change at all and didn't improve at all. Zi Wuji was a little nervous, and looked at Dong Wuxiang and Ao Xieyun for help. The two glared back at him fiercely, their eyes threatening. Aren't you quite fierce? Quite proud, aren't you? It turns out that you're such an uncle. My horizons have been broadened today. Although they didn't say it out loud, but this sentence was clearly expressed in their eyes. Ziwuji once again released a pleading look. Help me? The two raised their heads and rolled their eyes at the same time. Aoxieyun finally walked up and said casually, "Oh, why do you need so much explanation for this kind of thing? Our sister-in-law isn't someone who doesn't understand things. It's just that these things came too suddenly. After all, they're related by blood. Even if you want to deny it, you can't deny it. Don't you think so, sister-in-law?" Zi Shiqing finally breathed a sigh of relief. She wanted to smile, but tears flowed out at once. She said, "Yes, I'm a little unable to accept it. I've always been an orphan. But someone suddenly told me that I have parents, that my parents are heroes. They didn't appear all this time. This I can accept because they all fell as heroes. I'll only feel proud. But now I know that I actually have relatives. My uncle is also the Heavenly Emperor, and he wants to come and take me back on the day before my wedding." Tears streamed down Zi Shiqing's face. She tried her best to stop Min's mouth, but she finally burst into tears. She cried, But I've always thought of myself as an orphan. For so long." Shuelehan Yaoexe, Ziwuji and the other two lowered their heads sadly, but they couldn't continue to explain. "Everything happened so suddenly. Each of you has such strong strength, such huge forces, but I've been an orphan for so long." The demon empress held Zi Shiqing in her arms, her heart aching. She patted her back and comforted her gently. It's okay. In the future, everything will be fine. Good child, don't cry." But Zi Shiqing continued to cry loudly. Shuelehan looked at Ziwuji. "She needs some time to get used to it. The blood connection can't be erased by time. There's no need to rush." Ziwuji nodded repeatedly, his face red. He rubbed his hands and said repeatedly, "It's good that she's okay." That's great, Shuelehan warned. "When you see Chuyang tomorrow, you have to be more polite. This child has been with him for so many years. Only Chuyang treats her well. If you're rude to Chuyang, you have to be careful that your niece will embarrass you on the spot." Shuelehan said seriously, "She'll definitely do it. Don't make things difficult for yourself or you'll feel very comfortable." Ziwuji cried out as if he had been wronged. "How can I still have the mood to denounce her now? How would I dare to? When I see Chuyang, I'll just treat him like a little ancestor. If he wants to slap my mouth after slapping my left cheek, I'll smile and put my right cheek closer. After slapping both cheeks, I'll massage his hands. Don't tire yourself out. Is this okay? Is this sincere enough?" "Get lost." Shuelehan laughed. "You're so talkative. Why didn't I realize that your mouth was so talkative before?" The last storm before the wedding ceremony was finally over. Watching Zi Shiqing being taken away by Ziwuji as if she was his ancestor, Dong Wuxiang and Ao Xian finally lost all their energy. "Damn it." Dong Wuxiang squinted, sulking. "Ziwuji, that old bastard, didn't even say thank you before he left. If I knew, I should have left him alone for a while longer." Ao Xian snorted coldly. Now you know how to take credit. Just now, I didn't see you go to comfort sister-in-law and smooth things over. I had to do it myself." Dong Wuxiang smiled apologetically. "You're still the best at this, you're the best." Ao Xian's face was full of disgust. "Stop right there, how can you make such a face? Is this still Great Emperor Wuxiang?" Dong Wuxiang sighed deeply. "Isn't it all because I've been smiling apologetically to those grandsons these past few days in order to get the right to send off the bride? Now that I've arrived, I still haven't gotten it. It's really fucking depressing. I'll take a look at my waist tomorrow. My waist hurts like hell. This time, I can clearly feel that it's the lumbar spine that hurts again, not the muscles. When I suddenly relaxed, I felt as if my whole body had been emptied of fatigue. There will be an update tomorrow, just that it might be a little late." Chapter 2686. 10th of October. This day had finally arrived. Just as the darkness before dawn was about to end, and the first ray of light was about to appear, suddenly 18 forces smashed into the sky from the ground. Boom. They exploded in the sky at the same time. The entire mountain, river, and earth trembled violently. The sky suddenly became bright. At this moment, a ray of sunlight jumped out from the distant horizon. Then the whole world was suddenly filled with the sound of cannons. It was deafening. The cheers of the crowd followed. The morning breeze blew and it was mighty in the world. Tens of thousands of flags fluttered at the same time. The majestic sound of the horn at this moment reverberated throughout the world. No matter how pretentious one was at this moment, they did not feel sleepy at all. They rolled up and looked excited. What was about to begin was the grandest wedding in the history of the heavenly imperial court. It was also the most significant and far-reaching wedding in history. Countless people, both near and far, swarmed towards the high platform. However, everyone was very restrained. The crowd was boiling in all directions, but it was very orderly and not chaotic at all. Under the gaze of everyone, a figure rushed up to the sky. Meng Wuya. It was just one person rushing up, but under the deliberate surge of his cultivation, it made a sound that shook the heavens and the earth. In an instant it attracted everyone's attention. Minister Qiong Zhao's wedding ceremony begins now. Meng Wuya felt that today was the most glorious day of his life. He shouted at the top of his lungs, "I am Meng Wuya, the master of ceremonies for this wedding." There was a tsunami of cheers from below. "Next, let me introduce this wedding to everyone." Meng Wuya raised his voice. "Everyone is from the Jianghu and there is no need for formalities. I'm just saying. Everyone just listen." Far away Tianji was speechless. Is this guy here to tell stories or to perform? In any case, he does not look like a master of ceremonies. If not for the fact that I am his uncle today, I would have rushed up. Today is the big day of Minister Chu's wedding. Brothers from all over the world have rushed here to congratulate us. I would like to thank everyone on behalf of all the old and young masters of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Meng Wuya raised his voice and shouted. Countless people below shouted, "You're welcome, as long as there's good wine." That's right. We can attend Minister Chu's wedding. It's our honor. This time the meaning of the wedding was different. Moreover, they were going to make a declaration of war during the wedding. Therefore, this time, Chu Yang and the others would not follow the original traditional way of discussing. Instead, they adopted some methods. It was a more hot-blooded method. Therefore, at this moment, it could be said that he did not follow the conventional way at all. Meng Wuya faced the cheers of the crowd and laughed in the air. Next, I would like to introduce the guests who have come to congratulate us. Every one of them is a big shot, a real big shot. Eastern Royal Sky, His Majesty the Eastern Emperor, Demon Emperor Sky, Her Majesty the Demon Empress, His Majesty the Extreme Heaven Wuxiang, His Majesty the Solitary Emperor, His Majesty the Green Heaven, His Majesty the Evil Cloud Emperor. The list was only read out a few names that were closer to the front. Very soon, it was interrupted by the cheers of the crowd. This lineup could be said to be extremely powerful. Even just the Eastern Royal Demon Empress at the front was already enough. Below there was a series of great emperors. It seemed that 8 out of 10 of the great emperors of the Heaven Imperial Court were here. Meng Wuya could only appease the crowd and continue reading. When he finished reading, Qi Bei Heaven Emperor Yen Yang Lord Longing Huan, the people below were so excited that they were going crazy. It turned out that it was not 8 out of 10, but 11 out of 10. Not only were there great emperors and empresses, there was also an even more important heavenly emperor Tianji. To let everyone know, other than the above-mentioned guests, GMO the Lonesome Emperor, Rui Butong the Great Emperor of Thieves, Luo Kadi the Great Emperor of Wolf Sword are the groomsmen of this wedding. Just as Meng Wuya said this, someone suddenly shouted, "I'm also the groomsman." On the other side, a deep voice full of anger said, "Me too, I'm also the groomsman." Before he finished speaking, a golden dragon and a black saber suddenly appeared in mid-air. Everyone was stunned for a moment, but they instantly understood. It seemed like Wu Shang and Evil Cloud's great emperor were also going to be groomsmen. Meng Wuya was stunned. This time he was really stunned. "Brother, this was not what was written in the script. Weren't the two of you the representatives of the wedding party? Why did you run over to be the groomsmen now? You didn't follow the plot in the script. How do you expect me to continue?" When the other brothers saw this scene, they were also stunned. What was going on with these two people? What was going on? However, when they saw that these two fellows were so suppressed that they looked like they were about to explode, as if they wanted to fight with someone, everyone was very tactful and did not ask. Also, Wu Shang the Great Emperor, Dong Wushang, and Evil Cloud's Great Emperor Ao Shiyun are also the specially invited groomsmen of this wedding. Meng Wuya's brain was a little tangled. Obviously, he did not understand what was going on. But even if the script was distorted, he still had to continue. And the cheers below became even louder. Obviously, no one knew that these two people were not in the original script. Instead, when they saw how aggressive these two people were, the atmosphere became even more lively. At this point, this small episode was considered to have come to an end. Everything that followed was back on track. The various programs started one after another. First, it was naturally the introduction of the groom, bride, Chuyang, Mo Qingwu, Tai Budian, Wu Chanchan and the rest. It was just a few sentences, and the introductions were just like that. However, when it came to Zi Sheqing at the end, the originally noisy scene suddenly became silent. The reason was only one sentence. The bride, Miss Zi Sheqing, is the legendary daughter of the legendary heavenly emperor of Zi Shao. It was this sentence that caused everyone to fall into an unprecedented silence. Meng Wuya's voice reverberated in the air. Heavenly Emperor of Zi Shao, Lord Zihao, fought alone against the extraterrestrial demons in Zi Shao heavens. He fought to the last soldier and never took a step back. Until the final moment, he even fought to his death in Zi Shao heavens. The generosity of a hero. There is nothing more than this. 1,000,000 years later, it is still deafening and shocking. Now his daughter is also getting married today. Heroes of the world, please pay your respects to the heroic heavenly emperor of Zi Shao. Our most sincere blessings to our beautiful bride today. Before Meng Wuya's voice died away. Boom. The crowd was instantly in an uproar. Daughter of the heavenly emperor of Zi Shao. Descendant of the #1 hero of the heavenly imperial court, the #1 legend. This identity made Zi Sheqing the focus of today's event. This was only the introduction, and the bride had not officially appeared yet. But there were already countless hot-blooded people who were shouting loudly. Miss Zi, I wish you and Lord Minister a long life together. A happy life. Miss Zi, please rest assured. The battle against the extraterrestrial demons is about to begin. We will definitely avenge the heavenly emperor of Zi Shao. Heroes will not be lonely. Reclaim Zi Shao heavens and comfort the countless heroes in heaven. Someone raised his arm and shouted. Thousands of people responded in an instant. Reclaim Zi Shao heavens. Send our congratulatory gifts to Miss Zi and the minister. Reclaim Zi Shao heavens and kill all the extraterrestrial demons. Salute the heroes. Such wild cheers. From afar, Zi Sheqing, who was already prepared, heard it. Zi Sheqing, who had already put on her makeup, once again burst into tears. At the side, Zi Wuji clenched his fists, his burly body trembling slightly. His eyes were faintly watery. This is the legacy my father left for me. Tears flowed freely from Zi Sheqing's eyes, but there was a proud smile on her lips. This is all the glory. All the blessings, all the reverence. This is the legacy my father left behind. As the daughter of the heavenly emperor of Zi Shao, I only feel proud. I only feel proud. Even if I have to be smashed to pieces, I will never tarnish the reputation of my father and mother. Zi Sheqing said softly, the battle of the extraterrestrial demons. I, the princess of Zi Shao heavens, will be the vanguard. This is my glory and also my responsibility. Although Zi Sheqing's voice was soft at this moment, it was resolute and irrefutable. Zi Wuji took a deep breath and said, yes, the Zi family will be the vanguard. The name of the heavenly emperor of Zi Shao needs to be carried forward in our hands. Zi Shao heavens also needs to be in our hands to regain its glory. Zi Sheqing bit her lips and nodded silently. This was the first time she acknowledged and responded to her uncle, Zi Wuji. A red cloth slowly covered Zi Sheqing's head. Her eyes were also covered under the red veil. But at this moment, Zi Sheqing clearly saw two people in front of her smiling at her, their faces full of meticulous love. One of them was dressed in purple and had a burly figure. The other was dressed in white and had hair like clouds. His eyes were gentle and filled with pity. The two of them looked at her affectionately. In a trance, Zi Sheqing closed her eyes and murmured in her heart, Father, Mother, thank you. Please don't worry, your daughter will definitely be happy. Your daughter will definitely not bring shame to father and mother's reputation. The ceremony outside was still going on. The next segment was the congratulatory gifts sent by the various heavenly emperors. Wave after wave of congratulatory gifts competed with each other and were all-encompassing, dazzling everyone. The answer was that everyone had already lost the power to be shocked. They had already been shocked silly from the beginning. Then, the various heavenly emperors went on stage to speak and express their congratulations. Mo Tianji watched everything that was happening with a smile from afar. Right now, it was not yet his turn to appear. As he read, he pondered carefully, trying to see if there was anything he had missed. This had always been his habit. Finding out his own shortcomings and correcting them, eliminating the hidden dangers as much as possible before they appeared. This was the work that Mo Tianji had been doing all his life. He worked tirelessly and never slacked off for a moment. Above his head, the big flag rustled and turned into rolling clouds. It seemed that everything was normal and there was nothing out of the ordinary. But gradually, Mo Tianji discovered that there seemed to be something wrong. Although he could not figure out what the problem was for the time being, there really was a problem. This would happen. Chu Lu'er was accompanying Mo Qingwu inside. Even at this juncture, the two women who had always been at odds were still arguing. After today you will have to call me sister-in-law. Then what will you call me in the future? Naturally, I will call you little sister like Chu Yang. Isn't this a matter of course? Come on, you didn't hear what I said. I said in the future. Is it not a matter of course for me to call you little sister like Mo Tianji? If you don't mind, I can do that. Let's talk about the future in the future. Anyway, you will have to call me sister-in-law very soon. Very soon. Do you dare to not call me that? Indeed, I don't dare to not call you sister-in-law, but do you dare to call me little sister? The two women pouted at the same time. Both of them felt that they had won, but they also felt that they had lost. She was married to the other party's elder brother, and the other party's elder brother's wife was her. This sentence was incoherent. It was very fucked up, but it was the portrayal of this woman's current state of mind. At this moment, Mo Tianji's voice came from outside. Oh. His voice was heavy and there was a hint of worry in it. Chu Lu'er hurriedly walked out. What's wrong? What happened? Something's wrong. The wind today is very strange. Mo Tianji looked at the fluttering flag above his head. It can't be? Chu Lu'er said, there was originally no wind here today. Didn't you arrange it yourself? You let many experts hide in the wind. You used your own cultivation to create the wind and used it to blow the flag endlessly? The wind started from 5,000 miles away, and the flag flew all the way and was not allowed to droop for even a moment. How did it become strange now? What you said was indeed arranged by me. But there's a loophole in it. Mo Tianji frowned. A loophole that can be easily exploited. Exploited? Chu Lu'er was very smart. You mean poison? Yes, poison. Mo Tianji paced. It's too easy for the Saint and Shuexianer to come in and cause trouble in such a big event. They only need to change their appearances. We won't be able to recognize them. So, they must be in the crowd below now, waiting for an opportunity to make a move. Mo Tianji frowned and deduced bit by bit. No matter what, the Saint and Saint Empress are the eyes of the Saint. It's Chu Yang and us who destroyed the foundation that the Saint had built over millions of years. The Saint must hate us the most now. Now the core figure Chu Yang is getting married. If I were the Saint, I wouldn't let such a beautiful event go smoothly for Chu Yang. I'd definitely add flowers to the brocade. Otherwise it would be too stifling. Based on your description, Shuexian might not be a poison expert, but she's an expert in this field. She should have some rare poisons in her hands. As long as she cooperates well, it'll be the easiest to use in such a situation. So they definitely won't give up such a great opportunity. And if I want to cause trouble, the effect will be limited if I do it from afar. It'll be easy to alert the enemy. Moreover, if I poison a few insignificant people, the impact on Chu Yang will be negligible. So, I have to sneak into the core level? Then I'll start. Only then can I cause the most effective damage. At least, I can make a considerable number of people uncomfortable. Mo Tianji's eyes flashed as he analyzed layer by layer. Beside him, Chu Lu'er's expression had already changed. Although Shuexianer's poison techniques aren't as profound and pure as yours, it shouldn't be a big problem for her to concoct shadowless poison. Of the heavenly treasures that the Saint Monarch has collected over the past millions of years, there must be a portion of them that are highly toxic. However, in the previous harvests, we basically haven't seen anything that is highly toxic. This means that those have already been used and transformed into some kind of poison, or a few kinds of special effects. If they have such a reserve, as long as they take it out in such an occasion, it'll be the most suitable and most effective. And today, I'm afraid that even the heavens are helping them. The enemy Heavenly Emperor Mo Tianji actually cooperated and ordered a saint-level expert to fan the wind so that the spread of the poison would be more effective. They must be thinking this way. Mo Tianji muttered to himself, and the more people there are, the better. This is a heaven-sent opportunity. Even if they don't succeed, they'll be able to make Chu Yang feel disgusted. If I were the Saint Monarch, I'd be letting myself down if I let go of such an advantageous opportunity for revenge. I'd be as stupid as a pig. Mo Tianji muttered to himself, so, the Saint Monarch and the Saint Empress will definitely take action today. Chu Lur was already dumbfounded by his conjecture. Suddenly she had an idea. She smiled and said, "You're scaring me again. You've already guessed the enemy's possible methods and even used the wind as bait. I'm sure you already have a comprehensive countermeasure. Yet you're telling me all this. Are you trying to show that your wisdom is as vast as the sea and that nothing in this world can escape from the hands of the heavens?" Emotianji was stunned when he heard this. Then he smiled bitterly and said, "Lur, you think too highly of me. How could I have guessed the enemy's movements early on? The original intention of fanning the wind today was really just to put on a show. But it's also thanks to this wind that I was able to see the opportunity before the huge change. I hope it's not too late." "Then what should we do?" Chu Lur asked. When she heard that Emotianji actually didn't see the opportunity first and didn't make any preparations beforehand, she became anxious. She couldn't help but feel anxious. "Don't worry." Emotianji's face became as cold and steady as a rock. He said, "If we want to take revenge, the best time is when we worship the heavens and the earth. That's when everyone's guard is the lowest. It's also the easiest and most crucial moment to cause the most damage. At the very least, the relatives from the Double Heavens continent, they definitely won't be able to resist the formless poison. As long as any one of them dies, today's revenge, it can already be considered a success. And when we worship the heavens and the earth." Emotianji looked at Chu Lur and said, "Lu, you'll be the bridesmaid." Chu Lur's expression changed. "You mean?" Emotianji said, "All kinds of colorful and tasty poisons are just a joke to use in this situation. The only thing that can be used is the formless poison. Formless poisons, colorless poisons, and tasteless poisons." He looked deeply into Chu Lur's eyes. I believe you're the clearest on how to make such a poison." Chu Lur bit her lip and nodded. "All kinds of poisons are made with such a formula. Although it's ever-changing, it's always the same. It's a poison that can harm people's lives and a poison that can make people feel numb. There are only a few poisons in the world that can achieve such an effect. As long as you put in the effort, I believe you'll definitely be able to neutralize them." Emotianji said, "So, at the moment when you worship the heavens and the earth, especially at the beginning, you have to sprinkle the antidote without alerting anyone. You must succeed." Chu Lur heaved a sigh of relief. "That's not a problem at all. Just like you said, if we don't know about it beforehand, we might be caught off guard and it might be very troublesome to remedy it afterwards. But once we're prepared, it won't be a problem to prevent everyone from knowing about the poison. Oh right, you have to try your best to change your appearance in case they recognize you. I believe the Divine Empress will definitely have a deep impression of you," Emotianji said. "All right. Do you have any other instructions?" "Basically nothing. Your poison identification and detoxification is already very important and crucial. As long as you handle this properly, you don't have to worry about anything else." "Then I'll go and prepare immediately. There doesn't seem to be much time left." "All right, go quickly." Emotianji nodded and watched as Chu Lur left hurriedly. Then he waved his hand and called a few people over. "Go and find the Solitary Emperor, Wu Shang, Jade Flower Emperor, Evil Cloud Emperor and Minister Chu immediately. Tell them to be careful of the saint during the worship. Just tell them these 8 words, that's all." "Yes." As for GMO Luo Kudi and Rue Butong, Emotianji didn't want to inform them. These few people weren't calm enough. If they revealed any flaws in their expressions, that would be really bad. As for Demon Empress Shui Leihan and the others, there was no need to inform them at all. As long as Gu Duxing and the others made the first move, these experienced people would be able to react instantly. At this point, even the smartest person in the world would probably heave a sigh of relief. But Emotianji was still thinking over and over again. Then he called a few people over and gave them the same instructions. He repeatedly tried to find a flaw and realized that he really couldn't think of anything. He actually still couldn't relax. Today was the wedding day of Big Brother and his sister. Even if he felt a little uncomfortable, Emotianji wouldn't forgive himself. Maybe this wedding isn't just a wedding ceremony and a declaration of war. Maybe I can kill 3 birds with 1 stone and even get rid of the Saint Empress and the Saint Monarch completely? Emotianji frowned and muttered in his heart, if that's the case, the outcome would be too perfect. According to my experience in the arrangements of the heavenly Tao, it probably won't allow such a satisfactory thing to happen. So, there will definitely be a flaw and an unforeseen event. Emotianji frowned. He thought hard but couldn't think of anything. Finally he took out a copper coin. He muttered to himself, a person's strength is sometimes limited. This is my limit. Seems. I can only use this thing again, to see if there are any loopholes. At this moment, Mo Tianji's cautiousness as well as his ability to prepare for a rainy day had reached the peak of perfection. I've arrived at Yantai and found my comrade. I've made an appointment with the old doctor. Tomorrow morning at 8:30, I'll start the acupuncture treatment with a little needle knife. After finishing the treatment, I can't move and have to lie down. I'll see if I can write in the afternoon. If I can't, please understand. P.S. Brothers, the mobile game of the same name adapted from my novel Legend of Ling Tian will be available for download at 3:00 p.m. today. The download address is hp://l, se Daibo. It will be available for Android and Jailbreak at the same time. Everyone can choose the corresponding version to download. Aren't you very excited? I'm also quite excited to see my previous work being interpreted in another form. Feels quite different. This time it's a limited open beta. There are only 5 people available. First come, first served. Those who download today will be able to get a preemptive download package when the server opens at 10:00 a.m. tomorrow. Dear readers, I'll be waiting for you at Legend of Ling Tian tomorrow. For those who are unable to open the download link, please enter the address hp://l, se Daibo in the system browser and download. Chapter 2687. During this period of time, Mo Tianji did not hear a single bit of the clamor of gongs and drums that filled the entire space outside. The ceremony had already reached an important stage. Meng Hui's voice was close to hoarse. Next, let's invite our bridegroom for today, Minister Chu Yang, to say a few words to everyone. In the midst of earth-shattering cheers, the world was suddenly filled with fresh flowers. Countless fresh flowers fell from the sky. In the midst of the rain of flowers, Chu Yang, dressed in black, walked up to the sky step by step. Walking in the void, it was as if he was stepping on solid stairs. Step by step, his clothes fluttered in the wind. Just walking up like this, it was as if he was the emperor of heaven and earth, inspecting his own territory. Below, countless people were originally cheering, but at this moment they were suddenly silent. Every step Chu Yang took seemed to be stepping on everyone's hearts. His footsteps were silent, but they were full of shock. The figure walked up to the sky step by step, getting further and further away from everyone. It should be smaller and smaller, but for some reason in everyone's hearts, this figure was actually getting bigger and bigger, more and more dignified and solemn. When he walked to the sky, his whole person turned into the sun, shining brightly and illuminating the world. Today Chu Yang was still wearing a black robe. However, this black robe was the most gorgeous robe he had ever worn in his life. This was because there were golden threads on the inside and golden edges on the outside. There were also dark golden patterns on the collar. It symbolized that today's bridegroom, Chu Yang, was completely different from his previous image of wandering the martial world. Chu Yang walked up. He slowly turned around. His eyes were very gentle as he looked at everyone, just like the warm sunlight that spilled down naturally, but, at this moment, everyone felt their hearts skip a beat. Then they suddenly burst into earth-shattering cheers. Minister Cheung Xiao. Minister Chu is overjoyed. Minister Chu. For a moment the sound of cheers rose and fell, soaring into the sky. Everyone's expression was fervent as they looked at the figure in the sky, full of the excitement of a pilgrimage, finally seeing a god. Chu Yang smiled slightly. He cupped his fists and said, "Friends, brothers." Chu Yang, for his own selfish reasons, has troubled everyone to come here from thousands of miles away. Here Chu Yang thanks everyone. Chu Yang will remember everyone's hospitality in his heart. Thank you again. His voice was very calm but in the midst of the cheers. However, it was clearly transmitted. It was as if he was whispering into everyone's ears. Chu Yang am getting married today. This is a grand occasion for my generation. This is the one and only time. Therefore, I hope to receive everyone's blessings. Chu Yang smiled warmly. This is the first thing. Cheers erupted from below. The sound of congratulations was like an eruption of a mountain flood. It lasted for a full 15 minutes and it was getting louder and more intense. Speaking of marriage, I must thank many people. Chu Yang's voice was full of emotions. The first person is my teacher, Meng Chao Ran. Today, his teacher didn't come. However, I want to say that the reason why I am able to walk to where I am today is all because of my teacher's teachings. My life's achievements all came from this. Thank you, teacher. Chu Yang knelt down in the air and kowtowed thrice. Kneeling and kowtowing, the crowd watched quietly, their hearts suddenly filled with emotion. As the minister, he was number one in the world. He had knelt down in front of everyone without any pretense or restraint. It could be seen that Chu Yang was extremely grateful to his teacher. All of the experts who had already become masters felt honored and excited. As a teacher, it could be said that he had no regrets in his life to be able to teach a disciple like Chu Yang. This was also the greatest glory of a teacher. However, on this day, which was Chu Yang's teacher's most glorious day, he didn't come. This made all the Jianghu experts who had already become teachers have some inexplicable feelings in their hearts. If it were me, would I come? Everyone's answer was yes to one thing. However, Chu Yang's teacher denied it. For a moment, everyone seemed to understand something. Although Meng Ran didn't come, Chu Yang still expressed his deepest gratitude to his teacher. He was the first to express his gratitude. Other than my teacher, I am most grateful to my parents. Chu Yang turned his head and looked at Yang Ruolan and Chu Feiling affectionately. My parents gave me life. For me, they were even willing to sacrifice everything. This is a great kindness and also a great kindness that can never be repaid as a human being. Chu Yang knelt down slowly. I can only kowtow a few times to my parents on this day of marriage. Chu Yang kowtowed one by one and said loudly, Father, Mother, I have a family today. I have grown up today. Thank you very much. In the future, everything will be handed over to me. You have suffered for half your lives for me, but from now on, I will repay you with a lifetime of laughter. Chu Yang said loudly with a solemn expression. Below the stage, Yang Ruolan was already sobbing. Chu Feiling nodded his head in relief, but he forced himself not to let his tears flow out. This life is complete, Chu Feiling said to himself. Below the stage, almost everyone was already a father and a mother. Looking at this scene, there was a dead silence. As parents, they had no regrets to have such an outstanding son today. However, they didn't know if their own child could also bring them such glory. If there was such a day, they would have no regrets even if they died. I'm also grateful to my wives. Chu Yang stood up and said, My wives are all 1 in a million good girls. Every one of them is devastatingly beautiful. Every one of them is exceptionally intelligent and quick-witted. Every one of them has peak cultivation and peak power. But they still fell in love with me. They fell in love with me who was still useless at that time. From humble beginnings, they have accompanied me to this day. This is a patriarchal world. Of course, 3 wives and 4 concubines are common in this world. Everyone is used to it, but here, I have to confess to everyone that I have these 4 wives at the same time. This is something that I, Chu Yang, didn't even dare to dream of. When facing each of them, I feel that I'm very satisfied with just one. Everyone, I want to give her a lifetime of love, the one and only love. But I'm very sorry. I can't do it. This is also my greatest apology to my wives. For this apology, I will use my life to make it up to them. Chu Yang said seriously, They are all my treasures from the past. Now, in the future and forever. In 4 different directions, the eyes of the 4 brides with red veils were filled with tears. Chu Yang, in our lives, to be able to marry you is also the thing that we are most grateful to the heavens. Everyone was silent. Chu Yang was right. This was a patriarchal society. In the eyes of the world, 3 wives and 4 concubines were natural. Natural. No one, not even all the women. No one said that this was unreasonable. But Chu Yang, as the number 1 person in the world, was here on his wedding day facing the world, openly expressing the guilt in his heart. This showed the sincerity of his will and the firmness of his heart. Qingwu Chanshan Budian Qing. Chu Yang said affectionately, In my heart, you are all irreplaceable. Every one of you is my one and only. Here, on my wedding day, facing the heavens and earth, facing all the people in the world, I made a promise. Let us stay together for all eternity and love each other forever. I will love and protect all of you until the end of time. Thank you for being willing to marry me. Chu Yang said firmly, I will make all of you happy, believe me. We believe you. A roar sounded. It was from all the female experts present. Everyone's eyes were brimming with tears. Such an affectionate man should receive everyone's blessings. In the face of the heavens and earth's promise, we believe. We believe and we are envious. The minister's wife is really lucky. Today is my wedding day, there shouldn't be anything else mixed in. But the situation now is serious, making me worry day and night. Chu Yang's voice was low and full of worry. Gradually, it was filled with a sonorous feeling, like a war drum slowly beating. The extraterrestrial demons will never stop wanting to kill us. They are always a sharp sword hanging in our hearts. If the extraterrestrial demons don't die, the heavens will not be at ease. Chu Yang's voice became fierce. Today, in the name of Minister Cheong Shao, I announce to the world that from today onwards, we declare war on the extraterrestrial demons. Within 3 months, the heavens will send out troops at the same time to rush to Purple Cloud Heavens, destroy the extraterrestrial demons and reclaim Purple Cloud Heavens. Light up my heaven and earth, comfort my heroic spirits. Destroy the extraterrestrial demons, reclaim Purple Cloud Heavens. Light up my heaven and earth, comfort my heroic spirits. Everyone's blood boiled at the same time, raising their arms and shouting. In the sky, countless red flags rustled like red clouds, rising and falling one after another, endless. This battle is dangerous. I won't say more beautiful words. I hope everyone is prepared. If the extraterrestrial demons are not destroyed, we will not return. Chuyang, I hereby swear that I will fight with everyone, breathe with everyone, live and die with everyone. Live and die with everyone. Live and die with everyone. Everyone puffed up their necks and shouted. Even Shui Leihan, Zi Wuji and the other heavenly emperors couldn't help but shout out loud. The Purple Cloud Minister's wedding begins now. Let's welcome the 4 beautiful brides. Meng Wuya shouted. In all directions, horns sounded mightily, and festive music instantly filled the world. The first bride, Mo Qingwu, the younger sister of the heavenly emperor of heavenly secrets, Mo Tianji. Today she is in the Chu clan. Let us wish the bride and groom eternal happiness and happiness. Meng Wuya's voice actually sounded weak in the midst of the roaring cheers of the crowd. At this moment there were too many people cheering. In the east, the heavenly emperor of heavenly secrets' bridal procession appeared mightily. Mo Qingwu, who was dressed in red at this moment, even though her head and face were covered by a red veil, her unique beauty was still stunning. She walked step by step with her brother by her side. She only felt that her heart was almost about to jump out of her throat. After today I will be Brother Chu Yang's little wife. Mo Qingwu felt shy in her heart, but more than that she was happy and satisfied. In this life there was nothing more to ask for, thank the heavens. The second bride is our hero, the daughter of the heavenly emperor of Purple Cloud, Zi Xiecheng. Meng Wuya's voice shook the world. The heavenly emperor of Daluo Heaven, Zi Wuji, is the uncle of our bride. He came personally to send Princess Zi Xiao off. She and Chu Yang, the Jade Cloud Minister, will be eternal. Cheers rang out once again. Then it was Gu Duxing sending off Tai Budian, Xia Danxiong sending off Wu Qianqian, for heavenly emperors sending off 4 brides. Such a lineup shocked all the spectators to speechlessness. This time, it was Tai Budian and Wu Qianqian's request to let Zi Xiecheng and Mo Qingwu come first. Tai Budian and Wu Qianqian were willing to make such a decision. Marrying 4 brides at once, regardless of age. Entering together. This was something everyone knew. However, Zi Xiecheng's identity was special after all. The heavenly imperial court needed a hero's wife, and it needed Princess Zi Xiao. And Mo Qingwu was Chu Yang's favorite. Tai Budian and Wu Qianqian understood this very well. Although they knew that there was no distinction in their lover's heart, this kind of front and back in front of everyone's eyes, they still had to have some. After all, it was impossible for 4 names to appear at the same time. Chu Yang, Mo Qingwu and Zi Xiecheng were all grateful to Wu Qianqian and Tai Butian's insistence. Mo Qingwu and Zi Xiecheng felt embarrassed. However, they couldn't dissuade Tai Budian and could only agree. The 4 brides appeared at the same time. The sky and the mountains and rivers suddenly turned into a sea of fresh flowers. When the 4 brides walked into mid-air, this sea of fresh flowers also grew to the extreme. Under the feet of the brides and grooms who were standing in mid-air, countless fresh flowers grew wildly, piling up into a tall flower platform that was 1,000 feet high, supporting the 5 newlyweds. The wedding ceremony officially begins. Meng Wuya was so agitated that his whole body trembled. The first bow to heaven and earth. There was a deafening cheer. Chu Yang and the 4 newlyweds bowed down at the same time. At this moment, Chu Le, who had been paying attention to all the movements, still did her best to silently sprinkle the antidote for the formless poison even though she didn't notice anything unusual. At the same time as Chu Le's action, there was also a soundless, colorless and odorless poisonous fog that slowly drifted out from the crowd. With the help of the howling wind, it drifted toward the crowd. Mo Tianji's guess was right. The Saint Lord and Divine Empress indeed wouldn't let go of this opportunity. Finally, at the most critical moment they made their move. The formless poison was spat out from the hands of the 2 people, as if the door to hell had been opened. The original body of Divine Empress Shuexian had already been destroyed, but at this moment 2 of her clones attacked together. Beside her, the person who was looking at the newlyweds on the platform with a sincere smile of blessings was the Saint Lord of this generation, Cloud Master. He didn't move at all, but he controlled the formless poison that Shuxian sprinkled out and poured it toward Chu Yang's family members on the platform. Everywhere it passed, many people swayed and the flowers withered. Everyone's eyes were on the platform and no one was paying attention to this side. Everyone was cheering and jumping for joy. The sound waves soared into the sky, almost tearing the clouds apart. But they didn't know that a huge crisis was already happening around them. Chu Lur sprinkled the antidote and spread it, carefully paying attention to the surrounding movements. When Meng Wuya shouted, "Second bow to your parents," Chu Lur suddenly frowned. Then she turned her head. She stared intently at the cheering crowd over there. Chu Lur could feel a kind of viciousness with a strong aura of death coming from there, and spreading over, covering the sky and earth. How much poison was there? Chu Lur couldn't imagine at all, because the antidote she had prepared was not enough at all. It was very obvious that the Saint Lord and Divine Empress had used all the strong poisons that they had collected over the past million years without holding back today, just to ruin Chu Yang's wedding. Chu Lur took a deep breath. She used all her strength to activate the poison technique. Then she quietly opened her mouth and took a deep breath. In that direction, all the poisonous fog that normal people couldn't see was sucked into her body in one breath. I don't know if my poison technique can absorb so much formless poison, but I'd rather die than let these two bastards ruin Big Brother's wedding. Chu Lur's expression was resolute. However, just as she was sucking in the poisonous fog, she suddenly felt a heat in her palm. A sword actually appeared in her palm inexplicably. Chu Yang's Calamity Sword. Chu Lur sucked the poisonous fog over into her body. Then, the Calamity Sword swallowed all the poisonous fog from her body and entered the Calamity space. Gu Duxing, Dong Wushang and the rest were cheering and jumping for joy. However, at the same time, the two of them were still cheering, but their sharp eyes had already noticed that something was wrong. Shui Leihan and Yao Xer, who were the most congratulatory inside, quietly retreated at this moment. Mo Tianji pressed the hand of Heavenly Secrets in his sleeves and issued the strictest order in the history of the Heavenly Secrets Intelligence Department. Poof poof poof, in that direction someone finally fell down from the poisonous fog. Once they fell, a large number of them fell. The Saint Lord's eyes were fixed in the direction where the poisonous fog had left, looking at Chu Yang's parents and relatives. He was viciously hoping in his heart, fall. Die. The more deaths the better. He could feel that the poisonous fog had already reached a critical location. He just needed to advance a little more and he would be able to hurt the people he really wanted to hurt. However, at this moment he was suddenly stunned. Then he felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave. This was because the invisible poison that was about to build merit suddenly and mysteriously disappeared after reaching a certain location. The other party was prepared. Moreover, there was probably more than one poison expert on standby. Otherwise, they definitely wouldn't be able to do this. This wedding was actually a trap for him. The Saint Lord's expression changed. He pulled Shuxian, and the two doppelgangers of Shuxian became alert at the same time. One of them was, of course, the real Divine Empress who was reborn with the help of the doppelgangers. She understood the Saint Lord's actions and instantly realized that something had happened. Let's go. The Saint Lord looked at the high platform with hatred and said in a low voice. But when he looked over, he regretted his decision. This was because on the high platform, two people were already flying in their direction with eyes like lightning. Dong Huang. Demon Empress. Meng Wuya's joyous words sounded from the high platform. Husband and wife, bow to each other. Send them to the bridal chamber. I'm sorry for the late update. After the treatment yesterday, I was in so much pain that I couldn't write. I lay down and was still in pain even when it was 4 or 5 in the afternoon. I fell asleep in a daze and was woken up by the pain. It was already past midnight. I gritted my teeth and wrote 5,000 words intermittently. Chapter 2688. Shui Leihan's eyes flashed with killing intent. He said in a low voice, Master Cloud, you're finally here. I've been waiting for you for a long time. The Demon Empress didn't say a word. Her face was cold. She came from the sky as fast as lightning. Master Yun's gaze was cold, like that of a venomous snake. His body retreated as if he was flying. Wherever he passed, the crowd would scatter. It was a powerful force that forcefully opened up a path, causing people to involuntarily move to the sides. He said coldly, Have you waited for me for a long time? Haven't you waited for more than 1,000,000 years? Shuelehan, what can you do if you wait another 1,000,000 years? Shuelehan's face was dark. The Grand Orient sword turned into a rainbow and slashed at Master Cloud. Master Cloud dodged. Suddenly, the two women beside him attacked at the same time. Xue Xian'er's doppelganger. One of them was the doppelganger with Xue Xian'er's consciousness. At this moment, Shuelehan didn't dare to underestimate the combined attack of the two doppelganger. The Demon Emperor's face was cold. The Demon King's hook came down. Master Cloud sneered. His body shook and hundreds of doppelganger appeared. His original body suddenly rushed into Shuelehan's battle circle. A cold light flashed. There was no warning. It was the Saint's secret killing technique. Shuelehan took a deep breath and retreated. He sneered, Master Cloud, back then when you plotted against Ziwuji, you used this move, right? I've been guarding against you for so many years. His body flashed. With a boom, he exchanged a blow with one of Xue Xian'er's doppelganger. However, the Saint had already brought the two women and flew thousands of feet away. After one blow, they immediately escaped. However, how could Shuelehan let that happen? He gritted his teeth and chased after them. On the other side, Gu Duxing, Dong Wuxiang, Xie Danqiong and the others rushed over. The other heavenly emperors also had several people flying over. Although Rue Badong, Luo Kadi and the others realized it a little later, they were also rushing over. On the high platform, the husband and wife were bowing to each other. Chu Yang was in the middle of performing the third ritual. He completed the ritual in a dignified and respectful manner. Chu Yang let out a long laugh. Qing Wu Qing. Buddy and Chanchan, from now on you are my wives. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. The four women pursed their lips and chuckled at the same time, but their eyes glistened with tears. The happiness in his heart was about to overflow. The heavens bear witness, the earth bears witness. Heroes of the world, witness it together. The minister's wedding ceremony is complete. Meng Wuya shouted loudly and soared into the sky, congratulations to the minister. Millions of people shouted in unison, bless the minister. Chu Yang smiled and bowed. Thank you everyone. Thank you for your hard work today. Please have a drink with me. My wedding wine. Chu Yang didn't wait for the cheers to start. Instead he said loudly, today, everyone has given me so much love and kindness. I Chu Yang have nothing to repay you with. So, I'll give everyone the peace of heaven imperial court. He let out a long roar. He said, eradicate our heaven imperial court. The last root of the problem. He suddenly turned his head and looked in that direction. Although there was no sound, he could see that the entire space had been shattered. Everyone followed his gaze and looked over. Everyone felt a little strange. Someone actually dared to come and cause trouble at Qiongzhao's wedding? Who ate the bear's heart and leopard's guts? Chaos. With a soft roar, 3 figures rushed out desperately and turned into 3 rainbows in the sky, fleeing towards the north. Jiang sneered. Then he shouted, Master Yun, do you think you can still escape today? With a flash of sword light, Chu Yang had already turned into a thunderbolt along with his sword. He chased quickly. Cloud Master. The one who came today was actually Saint only? 10,000 Saints true demon? Everyone who heard it felt their hearts tremble. This unforeseen event left everyone dumbfounded. Then, everyone saw the most beautiful picture in the world. Mother, follow me to kill the enemy. Chu Yang's long roar came from afar. A strong gust of wind took off the red veils of the 4 brides together. 4 beautiful faces appeared in front of everyone at the same time. Everyone was like autumn water rippling, peerless in their generation. Their eyes seemed angry, shy and happy. At this moment, everyone who saw them suddenly held their breath. There were actually such beauties in the world. And the 4 of them were gathered together. And the 4 of them were actually married to the same person. Qiongzhao's minister was indeed blessed with endless luck. Then Tai Budian and Wu Chanchan floated down at the same time. Mo Qingwu and Zi Sheqing's delicate bodies swayed and turned into 2 bolts of lightning, following closely behind Chu Yang. 2 women were in charge of the internal affairs, while the other 2 were in charge of the external affairs. On this point the division was very obvious. 2 followed Chu Yang to conquer the world while the other 2 guarded the foundation at home. This was the tacit understanding between the 4 women. There was no need to say anything. Everything was done naturally. By right, after the couple bowed to each other, the next step should be to send them to the bridal chamber. But now, it seemed that they would definitely not be sent to the bridal chamber. Because when they were bowing to heaven and earth, Chu Yang and the rest had already felt that there was chaos somewhere. The four of them realized at the same time that Saint Only's disturbance had finally come. Something was bound to happen on the wedding day. This was something that everyone had long been mentally prepared for. Although they were a little regretful that the wedding ceremony was ruined, the procedure had finally reached the final step. It could be considered a successful completion. What was left was just the part where the guests and the host enjoyed themselves. With so many people from Demon Emperor Heaven, the fairy race and the Heavenly Armament Pavilion taking care of them, there would not be any problems. Therefore, once the wedding ceremony was completed, Chu Yang immediately joined the battle to encircle Cloud Lord. When Cloud Lord and Shuxian saw that things were not going well, they immediately began to escape. They all knew that although their cultivation was top-notch in the Heaven Imperial Court, facing these people today, they really did not have any chance of winning at all. Even if they were to escape slowly, they would die here. Therefore they did not hesitate. While Chu Yang and Brother Jia were still concerned about the wedding, they rushed out fiercely. Shui Leihan and the Demon Empress only had time to block them, but the other party fled desperately. But they could not stop them. They could only chase after them. Chase after Cloud Lord. Destroy the 10,000 Saints' true spirit. Shui Leihan roared and was already the first to disappear. After that, the Demon Empress, Gu Duxing, Dong Wushang, Xie Danqiong, Ao Shiyun, Zi Wuji, Mo Lei, Chu Lu, Mo Huichen, Long Yin Huan, Meng Jinghui, and so on all chased after them. They could make up for the wedding banquet in the future. However, the saint had escaped. There would be endless trouble. Once they were alone, it was not impossible for them to be killed instantly by the husband and wife. It was a lineup that had gathered all the top experts in the Heaven Imperial Court. With an unprecedentedly luxurious lineup, an unprecedented desperate chase took place in the Heaven Imperial Court. And the person being chased, it was actually the #1 person in the world back then, the person with the highest authority in the Heaven Imperial Court, Cloud Lord. One had to say that this was a huge irony. Chu Yang, Mo Qingwu and Zi Sheqing started later and fell behind. But they chased all the way. The person who chased at the back was the Heavenly Emperor of Heavenly Secrets, Mo Tianji. Mo Tianji calmly arranged the subsequent matters. The Heavenly Armament Pavilion and the Fairy Clan. They are in charge of entertaining all the guests. Friends from all the major worlds. After the wedding banquet, you can leave on your own. Once the army sets off, everyone will go to the Purple Cloud Heavens together to fight the extraterrestrial demons. Friends from all the sects in the martial world, please contribute when the time comes. From now on, all the major worlds are to be prepared for battle. Get ready to go to the Purple Cloud Heavens at any time. Friends and relatives, the situation today is special. The biggest hidden danger in the Heaven Imperial Court has appeared. Please forgive the haste of this wedding. When Chu Yang and his wife return, we will drink to our heart's content. Mo Qingji clasped his hands and bowed. I have to catch up with them too. Otherwise, I won't be able to catch up with them. Mo Qingji shook and turned into a rainbow. Meng Wuya, the MC, instantly became the manager. He warmly welcomed everyone to take their seats. Wine and dishes were served. Chu Feiling and the other Heaven Imperial Court relatives and friends, accompanied by everyone, began to toast each table. Everything was no different from any other wedding. Although Yang Ruolan knew that with so many top experts chasing after the three of them, nothing would happen, she was still instinctively worried. This incident happened in a certain area. Not many people were alarmed. In other areas, almost no one knew that such a thing actually happened at such a time. They only thought that everything was peaceful. Therefore the atmosphere was lively and they drank to their heart's content. Meng Wuya sent people to use the antidote left by Chu Lu'er to save those who were poisoned by the formless poison. Fortunately they were treated in time. Chu Lu'er's antidote was also very effective. No one was injured or killed. It was a great blessing. Chu Yang walked with his sword. Beside him were two peerless beauties in fluttering red clothes. Although the three of them were chasing after the enemy, the sweetness of newlyweds could not be dispersed by the wind. Occasionally when they saw each other, their eyes were also filled with drunkenness. Today they finally became husband and wife. The two of you are finally my wives. Chu Yang turned into a rainbow and flew as he chuckled. His face was full of pride and happiness. Mo Qingwu snorted and said coquettishly, immoral. However, Zi Sheqing, who had always been feisty, blushed. She actually lowered her head timidly and flew without saying a word. Her beautiful hair fluttered and her red clothes fluttered. This unprecedented scene made Chu Yang's heart burn. He couldn't wait to stop and find a place to, cough, enter the bridal chamber first. Although they were chasing after the enemy for thousands of miles and the situation was supposed to change rapidly, Xu Yang still felt an indescribable sense of beauty and gentleness. Violent explosions and sounds of battle came from the front, as well as a long howl from Shui Leihan. Xu Yang's heart tightened. Sword light flashed. What harm is there in slaughtering the world? He rushed over quickly. Just as he arrived, he suddenly felt a strong vibration. Then, a violent explosion suddenly occurred. Huff huff huff. After a few muffled groans, Long Yinghuan and Luo Kadi appeared and staggered back. Dong Wuxiang let out a long howl. Amidst the dust and smoke, his dark saber turned into a dragon and split the explosion wave in front of him. With a boom, everyone staggered back. A few hundred words and I have to stop. I can't write a normal update. I didn't ask for leave, so I can only endure. I might as well ask for leave today, it's the last moment. I can't write too much. Chapter 2689. With a loud bang, a huge shockwave from the explosion spread out in all directions. Everyone was unable to stabilize themselves and staggered back. Xu Yang flew over and casually waved his hand. A copious amount of energy swept out and stabilized the bodies of everyone within sight. Then he asked in a loud voice, "How's the situation?" Other than a small accident, the saint didn't have the mountain and river sword, so his strength has decreased. He can't deal a fatal blow to us in an instant. If it wasn't for the huge explosion just now, he would have been surrounded by us. The few of us took the brunt of the explosion and retreated with injuries. However, the East Emperor Demon Empress has already broken through the resistance and chased after us. Gu Duxing and the rest have also followed. Dong Wuxiang's 7 orifices were bleeding. He panted and said, "The huge explosion just now was because the last clone of the Saint Empress, Shuexian, had self-detonated just now. So it was an attack formed by Shuexian's self-detonation. I was wondering how powerful it was." Xu Yang took a deep breath and asked, "How's your situation?" "We're all right. Although many of us are injured, they aren't fatal." Dong Wuxiang's eyes were spitting fire. Shuexianer and Cloud Master are really shameless. They saw that we were about to be surrounded and couldn't escape. They actually forced their clones to self-detonate to break out of the encirclement. As it turned out, Rui Badong had the body of a phoenix and could fly in the air without needing to take a breath. He also had the help of the Nirvana flame, which was a great help. It was enough to entangle the saint. This was also because Rui Butong's strength hadn't reached the peak. Otherwise, the Nirvana flame would be the nemesis of the Thousand Saints devil technique. With his strength alone, it was enough to exhaust the saint to death. Even so, after a few consecutive attempts, he still couldn't shake off Rui Badong. The saint finally realized that if he couldn't completely shake off Rui Badong, he might really die here today. As he thought of this, he actually slammed his palm on the body of Shuexianer's clone, who was flying side by side with him. This attack even hit Shuexianer's main body. It was also greatly unexpected. She cried out involuntarily, What are you doing?" Cloud Master's face was ferocious as he shouted, "Do you really want to die here?" Shuexian remained silent. Then he saw Guru Yun unleash a series of bizarre attacks on the clone. The clone suffered the constant barrage of attacks from Guru Yun, but it didn't resist at all. In the next moment he was kicked away by Cloud Lord. Then he shouted, "Explode!" The doppelganger instantly turned into a meteor in the sky, suddenly flying in the opposite direction of the group of heroes. At the same time, it seemed to be risking its life to unleash all the potential in its body and all the power of its Yuan Qi to the limit, completely locking down the entire space. For a moment, all the enemies who were chasing after them were blocked in an extremely desperate manner. This sort of lock-on action was essentially a suicidal act. This method could indeed obstruct Dong Huang and the others for a short period of time, but even Cloud Lord himself wouldn't be able to do so. Against the actions of so many peak-level experts at the same time, it could only be maintained for a short moment. Now that the Divine Empress Doppelganger was executing it, the time limit would be even shorter. After a momentary stalemate, he would have to face the full counterattack of everyone. And because he had used up all his energy and had yet to generate new energy, he would have to face all the counterattacks. This was definitely a suicidal act. "Are you going to risk your life?" Shui Leihan roared and said furiously, "Are you a doppelganger? Or the main body?" Although it was Shuexianer's doppelganger, her beautiful face was expressionless. Her eyes gradually flickered with black light. Then the entire space seemed to collapse at the same time, gushing into her body. Seeing this, Shui Leihan was shocked. He forcefully broke through the confinement and warned, "Everyone spread out. She's going to self-destruct." At the same time he retreated quickly. No matter if it was a doppelganger or the main body in front of him, when an expert like the Divine Empress self-destructed, the power could no longer be described as shocking. Even if it didn't turn the world upside down, it was more or less enough. It was definitely qualified to drag any one or two of DE Empresses down to die with her. This was also the biggest reason why DE Empresses were not willing to fight to the death with experts of the same level. It was also the fundamental reason why Saint Lord, whose strength was clearly far above the Eastern Emperor and the Demon Empress, had never personally attacked the two of them for more than 1,000,000 years. It was because the counterattack they would suffer was too terrifying. But today, at this very moment, there was finally a self-destructing attack from DE Empresses. It was another ultimate self-destruction after more than 1,000,000 years since Zihao and the Heavenly Imperial Court. The Demon Empress was very experienced. With a quick thought, she made a prompt decision. With a somersault, she quickly broke away from the other party's confinement and hurriedly left. The other person closest to Shui Xian'er's doppelganger was Rui Budong. He also broke through the space seal of Shui Xian'er's doppelganger in an instant and launched a series of desperate attacks in the air, intending to break through the doppelganger's last line of defense and cause serious damage to her defense. However, Shui Xian'er's doppelganger was completely desperate at this moment. She didn't care what kind of injuries she suffered and actually ignored all the injuries. She only desperately blocked and even deliberately endured the attacks just to ensure that he didn't pass. Suddenly hearing Dong Huang's words, Rui Budong's phoenix body roared angrily and launched the last attack. Immediately he flapped his wings and flew up to avoid the counterattack. However, at this moment Shui Xian'er's doppelganger self-destructed in full force. Dong Huang, the Demon Empress, and Rui Budong's movement techniques were the fastest, so they were the closest to Shui Xian'er's doppelganger. The three of them also reacted the fastest to Shui Xian'er's doppelganger self-destructing and had room to maneuver. They each used different methods to achieve the same goal, which was to evade. However, those whose movement techniques were not as good were not so lucky. Dong Wuxiang Mo Lei and Xia Danxiong broke through the space seal and rushed forward side by side. Like lightning, they dashed into the sky full of dust and smoke. Only then did they hear Shui Leihan's loud roar. In a moment of panic, they wanted to stop immediately. However, their forward momentum was too fast and they couldn't stop at all. Dong Wuxiang saw that the situation was critical and made up his mind. He simply pulled out his dark saber and roared. In an instant, he unleashed his cultivation to the maximum and used all his strength to slash down madly without any intention of evading. Almost at the same time as Dong Wuxiang's domineering slash, Shui Xian'er's doppelganger self-destructed attack was finally completed. Then, following a huge explosion, a huge shockwave rushed out with a loud rumble. Shui Xian'er's doppelganger's entire body was destroyed. The first step was to turn into ashes. However, the entire space was also blown into smithereens. On the ground, a huge pit with a radius of more than a few hundred miles suddenly appeared. It was so deep that the bottom couldn't be seen. Those who were closer to the besiegers all let out a muffled groan without exception. Zi Wuji and Meng Jinghui both spat out a trace of blood at the corners of their mouths. They staggered back, but the ground was already a deep pit. Xia Danxiong flew over with a pale face. He pulled the two heavenly emperors back like a whirlwind. Dong Wuxiang's dark saber left a mark on the deep pit and actually split it into two halves again. It became two huge semicircles. Flowing water gurgled and made sounds at the bottom. Underground water slowly emerged and slowly, this place finally became a lake. The two semicircles were unrelated to each other. This place was called Sun and Moon Lake by the later generations. The Great Emperor's Saber. The Divine Queen's explosion, the sun and moon formed, and the mist was vast. Finally, it became a legendary place. However. At this moment, Dong Wuxiang also flew back like a kite with a broken string. The three of them rushed forward too quickly and couldn't change directions. They were the main force to bear the brunt of the explosion. He went all out to protect Xia Danxiong and Mo Lei, but he himself suffered the greatest impact. His internal organs were injured and his injuries were not light. Fortunately, it was not fatal. For a moment he saw stars. This was also because Dong Wuxiang's strength had improved recently, and he himself was walking a path of no return. Regardless of whether it was Xia Danxiong or Mo Lei who took his attack head-on, the result would definitely be much more serious than Dong Wuxiang's, even though their cultivation was on par with Dong Wuxiang's. It was even possible that they would be dragged along by Shui Xian'er's doppelganger. What's more, if it was Zi Wuji and Meng Jinghui, the two great heavenly emperors whose cultivation was lower than Dong Wuxiang's, even if their combined strength was stronger than Dong Wuxiang's, they were destined to be annihilated by Shui Xian'er's doppelganger. This, of course, contained the principle of mutual promotion and suppression of martial arts, and also the true horror of the explosion of a first emperor-level expert. Although the main force of the explosion had disappeared and the aftermath was not over, this kind of aftermath was no longer a big threat to the Eastern Emperor Demon Empress, Gu Duxing, and the others. They broke through the aftermath and chased after them. However, after this obstruction, even Rui Badong, who was at the front, pulled some distance away from the Saint Lord. It was hard to say whether he could catch up. Xie Danqiong pulled the two heavenly emperors and Imole to protect Dong Wuxiang. They were all injured, and Dong Wuxiang's injuries were especially serious. He didn't dare to force himself against the aftermath of the explosion and could only retreat with the aftermath. Just then he saw Chu Yang rushing over. "You guys take care of your injuries first, I'll continue to chase," Chu Yang shouted. Sword light flashed and broke through the smoke and dust, rushing forward at extreme speed. It was just a short delay, and the Saint Lord and Meng Jinghui were long gone. However, Chu Yang and the others were still determined to continue to chase after them. The territory of Tiancai was really too vast. If they didn't take the opportunity to eliminate the root of the problem this time, and if Master Yun continued to hide like he did a few months ago with his cultivation, it would really be difficult to track him down and deal with him. Everyone would also have a splitting headache. With such an enemy hiding in the dark who could deliver a fatal blow to you at any time and place, no one wanted to have such a feeling. Even if the Saint Monarch really disappeared into the mountains and forests and never came out again, who would be willing to let such a vicious criminal who had tormented the world die of old age? This was simply letting him off too easily. If they wanted to get rid of the Saint Lord, this was already the best chance. If they missed today, they would probably never have another day of peace. Everyone deeply understood this point, and it was precisely because they understood this point. Therefore, regardless of whether they were injured or not, they pursued with all their might. Chu Yang, Mo Qingwu, Zi Sheqing, Demon Empress Shui Leihan and the others rushed in the first wave, and the others followed closely behind. No one wanted to fall behind. Originally, I wanted to take leave, but I didn't expect to write a chapter. The second thing, please pay attention to my public Weixin. Open Weixin's address book, find my public, subscribe, search for Wind Rides the World, and you will see me. I hope everyone will add me. The third thing, my name is Ling Tian and I want to rule the world. Our Ling Tian legend is now officially online. Download address, HP//LZ. Choose the corresponding version and you will be able to download it. This game is reported to be very fun. I welcome everyone to play with me. Chapter 2690. Why? Why did my doppelganger self-destruct when you asked it to? What? Shui Xian'er's face turned ugly as she fled. Cloud Master, what do you mean by this? Explain yourself. Cloud Master fled with all his might and said indifferently, explain what? If we don't use this method, none of us will be able to leave. Do you have any other way to escape? Shui Xian'er said angrily, don't try to change the topic. You know what I'm talking about. Why don't you say it? Don't you dare to say it? Cloud Master was silent for a while and said, what? Shui Xian'er said furiously, do you think I can't see it? My doppelganger has become your myriad saints' true spirit. What do you mean by this? You have so many myriad saints' true spirits, why do you still want to control my doppelganger? What do you mean? Where do you place me in this position? Cloud Master was a little annoyed and said, we are not even sure that we are out of danger yet, but you are still looking into these details. Is there any meaning in this? Shui Xian'er sneered, why is there no meaning in this? Can I take it that you want to control my doppelganger after my original body is destroyed? What are you talking about? Cloud Master said angrily, we have been husband and wife for 1,000,000 years. How can I hide anything from you? We are of the same heart and mind. Why would I do such a thing to you? Besides, I only controlled one of your doppelganger as a precaution. However, I still control all of my doppelganger. His voice was hurried and he said angrily, just in case. Isn't it to deal with the situation just now? If it was just a doppelganger with a single soul, would you ask her to self-destruct? Even if she did, would the effect be as good as just now? Although he had destroyed one of his clones, he had also widened the distance between him and his enemy by several thousand miles. At the very least, our chances of escaping have increased greatly, right? At this point, Shuexianer's expression became slightly better. Besides, facing those opponents now, if we were to fight them normally, we might not even be able to win. Even if it's just running, do you have the confidence to escape? Cloud Master let out a long sigh. I had no choice. If my clone was still here, it would have been my clone that exploded. Xianer, we've been husband and wife for 1,000,000 years. Don't you believe me? Shuexian snorted but didn't reply. He continued to run with his head lowered. At this time, the two of them had already entered a mountain range with dense vegetation. The terrain was extremely complicated, but the two of them still ran wildly all the way. It seemed that they had already shaken off their pursuers. At this moment, Shuexianer could finally heave a sigh of relief. However, the two of them were extremely careful. Still, he didn't dare to be negligent in the slightest. He once again took a deep breath and began to run. This is the pugilistic world. Yinyan, do you know? This is what I like the most about you. Shuexianer's voice was neither yin nor yang, because even when you killed your own father, you can still make it sound so philosophical and full of life insights. Cloud Master looked at the stream and said indifferently, Is that so? Then how did your father die? Shuexianer's face turned ashen. She lowered her voice and said, Cloud Master, are you trying to force me to fight with you? Master Yun snorted softly and said, There's no need to be angry. We're all the same. You and I may have been glorious for so long, but we're all well aware of what happened to each other in the past. So, you don't need to provoke me. Because you can't provoke me, but I can provoke you. Because I don't care at all. But you do care a little. Shuexiana looked at him strangely and said word by word, Cloud Master, do you still have a conscience when you say this? What is conscience? Do you have such a thing? Do I? If I had such a thing. Cloud Master's handsome face was stupefied. He said indifferently, Would I still kill my own father? Well said. Makes sense. Makes so much sense. Shuexianer nodded slowly, What you said is really, fucking reasonable. Xian, why are you swearing? Cloud Master frowned. Even though we are all people without a conscience, we know each other well. Why do we have to say it out loud? We have to be cultured and not swear. Shuexiana laughed sarcastically. Cloud Master, do you still think so? Of course. Cloud Master said, Whether a person has a conscience or not cannot be seen from the way he speaks. However, whether a person is cultured or not can be seen from the surface. But it can be seen from the surface that this shouldn't change with the environment or position, and it should be permanent. Let me tell you one more time. Even if you don't have a shred of conscience and all your conscience has been eaten by dogs. Cloud Master said, But your elegant words and actions in front of others can still attract countless people. Let them think that you are reliable. Let them work hard for you. And once a person has no conscience, he can be like this forever. To be able to do this for such a long time, no matter what he does in the future, he will be successful. Cloud Master said softly, Shuexian, I'm sure you'll be able to do this forever. My years of success have proven this point. Shuexian said sarcastically, But you have still failed. You have almost lost everything. Cloud Master said casually, It might not be a failure. Maybe when I make a comeback, the entire world will be in our hands again. Even the original East Emperor Demon Empress will no longer exist. It will be completely clean and there will be no more eyesores. Based on what? What arrogance? Shuexiana looked at him in shock. In such a desperate situation, how can you still be so confident? How can you be so ambitious? Cloud Master didn't answer but stood up. Let's go to the purple cloud heavens. When we get there, you will understand everything. Purple cloud heavens? Shuexiana's eyes lit up. Could it be that you have left a backup plan there? A crafty rabbit has 3 burrows? The saint took a deep breath and didn't answer immediately. His eyes suddenly flashed with an indescribable evil black light and he said, When we get there, you will understand. Completely understand. The two of them flew up. Chu Yang and the rest followed them all the way, but they didn't find any traces that could be tracked. Everyone stopped in front of the continuous forest. People from all directions started to gather here. At such a moment, no one dared to be negligent. They couldn't afford to waste any time. There are no traces in the west, said Dong Wuxiang Mole, and Xie Danxion. They couldn't help but admire Dong Wuxiang's strong physique. Previously, he took the main force of Shuexianer's self-explosion and was severely injured. But after taking a heavy elixir, he didn't rest much and rushed over with Immortality and Swordsmanship. They basically didn't pull too far away from the main group. After that, the three of them took over the investigation in the west. There are no traces in the east, said Gu Duxing, Bu Luqing and Rui Budong. In terms of speed, Rui Budong and the rest were considered the first group in tracking. They were originally the closest to the saint, but after the huge explosion they lost the lock on their divine senses. They could only rely on their intuition to chase after them. After they reached this place they continued to pursue in the east, but still found nothing. There are no traces in the north either. The ones pursuing in the north were Chu Yang, Shui Leihan, Mo Qingwu and the rest. Chu Yang and the rest arrived after Rui Budong and the rest, but before Dong Wuxiang and the rest. Seeing Rui Budong and the rest chasing in the east, they chased in the north. In such a terrain, one north and one east were undoubtedly the most common directions to escape in. But there were no traces of the saint in the three directions. The south was the direction that everyone had neglected because they had originally chased from the south. Although it was said that the most dangerous place was the safest place, it was still the most dangerous place. The saint didn't dare to go to the south. Even if they didn't encounter Brother Jia, there was a greater chance of encountering other people such as the injured Zi Wuji and Meng Jinghui. As long as they were detected, there was really no possibility of escaping. But why were there no traces at all? Even if the self-explosion just now caused a slight gap in the tracking, it was extremely short. There shouldn't be no traces at all. Chu Yang and the others knitted their brows tightly. They were completely puzzled. With the saint's experience and scheming, once he really pulled away and got rid of the tracking, it would be more difficult than ascending to the heavens to catch up again. The original intention of this setup was to not allow him to escape again. The heavenly demon war was imminent. They had finally succeeded in luring the saint out. If he escaped again there would be endless trouble in the future. If the saint appeared at the crucial moment of the heavenly demon war to make trouble, it could even overturn the battle in one fell swoop. No one could afford to take this risk. But now that they had lost track of him, the more they delayed, the further away they were from the enemy. But now they had no clue at all. They didn't know how to proceed. But after a moment of hesitation, more people behind had arrived. This also meant that they were one step further away from the saint. Split up. Chu Yang and Shui Leihan looked at each other and said these two words at the same time. This was the only solution they could think of. The only solution. Split into three. Mo Qingji rushed over as if he was about to vomit blood. He was the last to start. The people in front were desperately chasing. To be able to catch up here was already the result of overdrawing their limits. 3? Why 3? Everyone frowned and asked. Yes, 3. One to the northeast, one to the northwest and one to the north. Mo Qingji panted and didn't even have time to adjust his breathing. He immediately gave out instructions. There must be no less than one person in each group. Use the Qingji intelligence network to maintain contact at all times. If you discover traces of the enemy, try your best to stall him. Don't kill him, just surround him. No matter how many sacrifices are made, you must hold on until our main group arrives. If we don't find him, then we will finally meet at Purple Cloud Heavens. Purple Cloud Heavens? Where? Chu Yang and Shui Leihan were shocked when they heard this. The two of them instantly had a thought. If they couldn't find him, the situation might become extremely bad. Everyone else's hearts were also in turmoil. Yes, the final meeting place was the most important place in the Heaven Imperial Court, Purple Cloud Heavens. Speed was the most important thing in war. Without further ado, everyone immediately split up into three groups. Shui Leihan, Mo Qingqing, Yao Xen, Zi Wuji, Longing Huan, Meng Jinghui and Mo Huichen formed a group and headed towards the northeast at lightning speed. The seven of them spread out in a fan-shaped formation and searched. Chu Yang, Mo Qingwu, Zi Sheqing, Brother Hu, Tribulation Spirit, Chu Le, Mo Tianji and GMO formed a group of 8 and headed towards the north. This was equivalent to heading straight towards Purple Cloud Heavens. Gu Duxing, Dong Wuxiang, Xie Danqiong, Ao Shiyun, Luo Kadi, Xinyang and Rui Budong headed towards the northwest. These three groups of people could be said to have gathered all the top experts in the Heaven Imperial Court. The various heavens and earths along the way were also mobilized. The scale of this pursuit was definitely unprecedented in history. At the same time, it could also be considered a new competition between the old and new celestial emperors. The three groups of people converged into the forest like green smoke. Everywhere they passed, there was no sound. Tianji, how likely do you think it is that the saint is heading towards Purple Cloud Heavens? Chu Yang asked in a low voice as he flew forward. 100%. Mo Tianji's face was solemn as he said, the saint's destination is definitely Purple Cloud Heavens. Because he has already been uprooted in the Heaven Imperial Court and has no place to stand. The only chance for him to make a comeback is with the extraterrestrial demons. And with Master Yun's temperament and character, even if everyone in the Heaven Imperial Court dies, he won't feel the least bit of heartache. He will still achieve his own goal. So, he will definitely go to Purple Cloud Heavens. There is no room for doubt about this. The only difference is which path he will take to go to Purple Cloud Heavens. And whether or not we can get ahead of him and intercept him. Mo Tianji took a deep breath. If that's the case, wouldn't Tan Tan and the Tribulation Brothers be in great danger? Chu Yang frowned. There is still room for maneuver in the current situation. I have already notified Tan Tan immediately. So, I informed Tan Tan to be on guard. Mo Tianji said, moreover, I warned them repeatedly. If they see the Saint and the Divine Empress, they must do their best to intercept them at all costs. They must hold on until we get there. They must not let the Saint and the extraterrestrial demons meet. Otherwise it will be a big problem. Then let's speed up a little. Even if we can't intercept the Saint, I hope we can reach Purple Cloud Heavens before him. Chu Yang took a deep breath and his eyes flashed. Mo Tianji started to roll his eyes when he heard this. Our speed is already fast enough, okay? GMO complained, boss. Even if you don't understand us, you should at least understand the two new sisters-in-law. They are still brides and you are torturing them like this. Chu Yang knocked on GMO's head with a puff sound. He scolded, why are you talking so much? What are you talking about? Do you know how to phrase it? Mo Tianji said as he ran, now that you mention it, I remember something. Chu Yang. Chu Yang, we are not only sworn brothers now but also relatives. Don't always call me by my name. You should call me brother-in-law instead. Oh right, you haven't done the etiquette of meeting brother-in-law. This is the standard wedding etiquette. It can't be avoided. Chu Yang smiled faintly. Mo Tianji, are you sure you want me to call you brother-in-law? Also, are you sure you want this etiquette? If you insist, no problem really. I can do all of that right now, my brother-in-law. Hearing this, Mo Tianji shivered subconsciously. He instinctively felt a sense of crisis. He thought about how Chu Yang had no scruples now. He had already married his wife and he was still struggling to pursue her. Chu Yang's words were obviously a threat, a blatant threat. In the end, he still wanted to marry the other party's younger sister. If he took advantage of this advantage, that he didn't know if he could take advantage of in the future, when he had to call a certain someone brother-in-law, at that time. Thinking of this, he shuddered. He hurriedly laughed and said, forget it, forget it. We are all children of the Jianghu. Let's do as we please. Now is the time to destroy the holy monarch and pacify the demons. I won't bother about it. Even if you won't be calculative, I will. I will remember what you did today. In the future, when there is no such thing as destroying the saint and pacifying the demons, we will settle this properly. Chu Yang looked sideways and said sinisterly. Mo Tianji looked up to the sky and sighed, we can't live through this day. Heavens, earth, why don't you open your eyes? Mo Qingwu and Zi Sheqing rolled their eyes as they watched this pair of clowns bicker. Even though it was such a tough chase, they were all smiles and didn't look tired at all. Thousands of miles passed by in a flash. Xue Leihan chased all the way as fast as a spark. Beside him there was Xueqi. Xueqi caught up from behind. Xueqi's real cultivation was only second to Di Yi's, so it was not worth mentioning. However, his lightness skill was really brilliant. He was almost on par with the elf archer god who was the best at body skills. He lived up to his name as the #1 assassin in Imperial Palace. The two brothers had a special way of communicating with each other. They directly contacted their elder brother. The two brothers chased forward as if their lives depended on it, far ahead of the others. The other heavenly emperors all felt strange about them. Why are these two so desperate? What are they doing? Not only them, Xue Leihan and Xueqi also felt very strange in their hearts. They were very confused. Why are they chasing like this? After they really caught up, what could they do? What could they do? Even if they caught up with him, what could they say to him? They would still have nothing to say. No matter what, Xue Xian'er and Lord Yun were destined to die this time. They had to die no matter what. So, what was the use of saying anything? What was the point? The two brothers' feelings were complicated and indescribable. But they didn't slow down at all. After a few days of chasing, they had already left the others thousands of miles behind. In front of them was a small village. The yellow sand was boundless and a lonely little village came into view. There were at most 50 families in this place. Let's go down and rest for a while. Eat something and drink some water. They came out in a hurry this time. Chu Yang's wedding had used up more than half of their inventory. And after flying with all their might, they indeed needed to take a breather. The two of them landed in front of a wine shop in the village with a schwa sound. They had already seen it from afar. There was no mistake at all. The two of them strode into the wine shop. However, there were two people walking out from the front. The four of them happened to meet each other. But the moment their eyes met, the four of them suddenly stiffened together. Shuxian, Lord Yun. First of all, we have to thank 37 Games. They worked together with Master Longquan Shin Guanglong Sword Shop to create an expensive one real scale tribulation sword. The following is an advertisement for a brief introduction. After all, they helped us fulfill our dream of creating a real tribulation sword. Longquan Shin Guanglong Sword Shop was founded in 1885, during the Qing dynasty. It was located in Longquan City, Jianghu Province. It was the only time-honored sword manufacturer in the area that inherited his father's business. It was famous both at home and abroad for being the best sword in the world. Since 1942, the swords made by Shin Guanglong Sword Shop were collected by famous people both at home and abroad. They made swords for Chiang Kai-shek, Nixon, Jin Yong, and even Shidada. The physical tribulation sword is expected to be completed in early September. You can also find out the progress of the forging of the tribulation sword through 37 Games official website. Chapter 2692. On the opposite side, Cloud Master and Shuxian were also stunned. Both of them had never imagined that they would unexpectedly meet each other in such a desolate place, encountering a life-and-death feud. The next moment, the four of them took a step back at the same time. The sage's extremely powerful consciousness spread out in an instant to observe the surrounding movements. As long as there was any movement, he would immediately escape. Unexpectedly, he was greatly relieved and smiled calmly. Your Majesty, Eastern Sovereign, it's a small world. What a coincidence. Shui Leihan snorted. It's indeed a coincidence. But for you, I'm afraid it's not a coincidence. Cloud Master smiled lightly. Not necessarily. If there's only the two of you here, then the ones who should say it's not a coincidence should be the two of you. Shui Leihan smiled indifferently. You're indeed the saint of the past. You can still be so calm in such a desperate situation. However, if you hadn't used your divine sense to search carefully just now, I'm afraid it would be difficult for you to be so calm. As for who's coincidental and who's not, we can only judge after the battle. Shuiqi, who was beside Shui Leihan, looked deeply at Shuxian and said, since that's the case, let the two of us fight the two of you. After whoever wins and loses, I believe both of us will have no regrets. Shuiqi's voice was filled with a strong sense of melancholy. This was clearly felt by the Saint Empress and Shui Leihan. Cloud Master and Shui Leihan snorted coldly at the same time and moved at the same time. The battle was about to begin. However, at this moment, Shuxian, who was beside Cloud Master, suddenly screamed. The volume of this scream was so loud that it almost pierced through one's eardrums. Seventh brother. Shuxian's voice became as sharp as a ghost. Her body was also shaking. She stared at Shuiqi in disbelief. Her cherry lips instantly turned pale. She said with a trembling voice, your seventh brother? Shui Leihan and Cloud Master, who were about to attack, stopped immediately. Shui Leihan's gaze was fixed on Shuxian, while Cloud Master also looked at Shuiqi in disbelief. Shuiqi's face twitched violently. He tried to deny it in a hoarse voice. No. You are. Shuxian rushed forward and grabbed Shuiqi without any hesitation. She screamed, you are my seventh brother. You are. I remember. That was how you looked at me back then, with such pain, such regret, such pain and determination. Snowy Seven roared, I said I'm not. Shuxian's entire body started to tremble. Suddenly, she wiped her face and instantly returned to her original appearance. She pointed at her face and said in a pleading tone, seventh brother, I am Xian. I'm Xian. Shui Leihan and Guru Yun watched this scene in silence. Their eyes were filled with an exceptionally complicated expression. Shuiqi's body swayed weakly under Shuxian's violent shaking, but he was unable to break free. His eyes were already red, but he still tried his best to deny it. I'm not your seventh brother. I'm not Xueqi. I'm not. You've got the wrong person. Shuexianer burst into tears. Suddenly she hugged Xueqi tightly. She cried her heart out and her face was covered in tears. Xue Leihan suddenly felt an extremely strong sense of danger from the bottom of his heart. He shouted, "Seventh brother, be careful." Xueqi was shocked. He activated his martial arts and his internal organs moved. He struggled with all his might, trying to break free from the entanglement of the person in front of him. But suddenly he felt a chill on his chest. He quickly retreated and saw a bloody dagger being pulled out of his chest as he retreated. The dagger was pulled out of his body and blood gushed out. Xueqi was indeed the #1 assassin in the Imperial Court of Heaven. After being reminded by Xue Leihan, he reacted quickly and forcefully activated his secret technique, causing his heart to shift. He narrowly avoided the fatal blow of the saber, but he still suffered heavy external injuries. As he staggered backward, he didn't use his vital qi or his cultivation as a saint to heal his wounds. Instead, he allowed the blood to gush out from his chest. He looked at Shuexianer in disbelief and laughed bitterly. "Good, very good. Is wonderful. Shuexianer, you're really vicious." At the last sentence he actually used all his strength to roar at the sky. This roar was earth-shattering and earth-shattering. Shuexianer held the dagger in her hand as she staggered backward due to the explosive force of Xueqi's yuan qi. Her eyes were filled with disbelief as she stared at the dagger in her hand, which was still dripping with blood. The blood was still warm. This was her own brother's blood. It was on her dagger. Her brain suddenly felt dizzy and she was at a loss for what to do. Her body swayed and she almost fell to the ground. With a weak voice she called out, "Seventh brother?" Xueqi's eyes were wide open. He shouted angrily, "Bitch? Which one is your seventh brother?" Shuexianer's tears rolled down. She cried, "Oh my God! What did I do? How did this happen? How did this happen?" Xue Leihan's eyes were suddenly filled with tears. Dong Huang was very experienced. The scene just now seemed to be Shuexianer killing her brother without any regard for their brotherhood. But in fact it was not the case. Previously, when Shuexianer tried to bully Xueqi by pulling his clothes, she was completely undisciplined. If not for the fact that Xueqi was also bound by kinship and did not retaliate, Shuexianer would have already died. Although Xueqi managed to dodge the attack in time, he was still dead. For an expert like Shuexianer, when she succeeded in her attack, she did not channel her vigorous energy into the dagger in her hand. It was not impossible for her to crush Xueqi's internal organs or even her body. However, Shuexianer was evaded by Xueqi's protective energy. If it was not for the fact that Shuexianer did not have any killing intent at that moment and did not use any of her cultivation, she would not have ended up like this. Xueqi was in the situation and was naturally furious. But Xue Leihan, as a bystander, was clear about it. This was also one of the reasons why Xue Leihan did not attack immediately when he saw his brother injured. At the same time, Xue Leihan remembered that year when he was stabbed by his own sister. The two incidents were actually so similar. It was also the same back then. He turned and stared at Cloud Master. His eyes were filled with so much hatred that they almost popped out of his eye sockets. He said word by word, "Cloud Master. What a good move." Cloud Master smiled. "Brother Xue is the one with good eyesight. You saw through it?" Xue Leihan took a deep breath. His voice was filled with heart-wrenching pain. He said with difficulty, "If I'm not wrong, Shuexianer is your first true spirit, right? Is she also the so-called true spirit?" Yun Shangren chuckled and did not reply. At the beginning of the cultivation of the 10,000 Saints' true spirit, there's a trick. First, you have to destroy the cultivator's humanity. However, true feelings cannot be destroyed no matter what. No matter how inhumane a person is, he or she still has some emotions. This is also the so-called true feelings. Xue Leihan's voice was filled with grief and indignation. The 10,000 Saints' true devil back then was unable to cultivate the true spirit. Or perhaps he failed in cultivating the true spirit. Therefore, his demonic technique was flawed and he was killed by us in the end. This led to the situation after that when you controlled everything. So, you've already turned your true feelings into true spirits and injected them into Xiener's body. From now on, you've become emotionless, but you've also made Shuexianer under your control at all times. Cloud Master only smiled coldly and did not say a word. Actually, I've always been curious. It's just that. Although Xiener loved her appearance too much, she was still a pure and kind girl since young. She had always been obedient, filial and virtuous. But why did her personality suddenly change so drastically? Why did she lose her humanity and kill her father and brother without mercy? So that's why. Everything was under your control? Siener? Cloud Master looked at Shui Leihan in surprise. After a long while, he suddenly realized something and exclaimed in surprise, "So you're the young master of the Shui clan? Shui Shaoren? You're actually not dead." Shui Leihan's words made Cloud Master completely understand something. Why did Shui Leihan always go against him? Why did the Heavenly Emperor of the Purple Clouds, Zihao, always go against him?